Hey guys, tonight we step into a Hungarian castle where stone walls hum with secrets, and your pen might bleed more than ink. Picture this. You're not some tourist snapping selfies. You're the cupbearer to a king who died mid-banquet in 1526. Spicy fact, medieval cupbearers actually tasted drinks for poison. Spoiler, they didn't get hazard pay. Now, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and the exact time. Let's see who's brave enough to wander these halls at 3 a.m. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You push open the oak doors, their iron hinges groan like a tenor, hitting a wrong note. Cold air licks your face. It smells of damp wool and regret. 17 steps lead down into the great hall. Each one creaks under your boots. Torchlight flickers. Shadows crawl up the walls like spiders on a deadline. A velvet-draped chair waits at a scribe's desk, its cushions sagging under centuries of dust. Your quill rests there, goose feather trembling, as if plucked mid-flight. Historians still argue whether court scribes ever coded messages in wine stains. Pick up the quill. The nib digs into your thumb. A drop of blood smudges the parchment. To your left, a tapestry shows King Louis II's coronation. Gold threads tarnish to green where his crown touches the canvas. Fun fact, his real crown sank in a swamp during his fatal escape from the Ottomans. Some say it still whispers to frogs. You sit. The chair exhales a cloud of motes that catch the pale light. The desk holds a ledger bound in boar leather. Open it, pages crackle like autumn leaves. Names flood the margins, smeared ink, crossed out titles. One entry reading Matthias the stable boy knows about the Raven Key. A draft snakes through the hall, your candle wavers. Wax pools around its base, forming a shape too much like a dagger. Modern renovators found similar wax drips in Buda Castle, still debate if they were codes or just bad candle holders. Your fingers trace the desk's carvings, vines, serpents, a fox asleep in a crown. The wood feels clammy alive. 3 scratches mar the surface near your elbow. Deep, angry. Someone fought here or tried to carve their way out. A noise shivers through the air, not a rat, not the wind. It's faint, like silverware trembling on a hidden shelf. You freeze, quill hovering. Tilt your head. The sound sharpens a child's laugh. A whetstone on steel, gone before you decide. The ledger's first entry is dated 1490, scrawled in frantic script. His Majesty demands sweeter wine, but the grapes rot on the vine. Serve the bitter vintage. Let him taste his failures. Harsh. You flip pages, dates leap forward, then backward. Time's drunk here. A sudden chill grips your neck. Turn nothing but shadows clotting the archway. That's new. Your mother's voice whispers in your ear, except she's been dead 9 years. Don't look at the mirrors, she says. Too late, you're already staring at the polished silver platter on the wall. Your reflection wavers, eyes too wide, lips moving without sound. A second face swims behind yours, pale, crowned, mouthing words that make your temples throb. Blink. It's gone. The platter shows only your shaky exhale fogging the metal. The quill twitches in your hand, drags itself across the page. Ink spills, forming a single word. Listen. Wind rushes through the hall, extinguishing every torch. Darkness swallows you whole. Your lungs burn, can't scream, can't. The flames flicker back to life. You're still seated. The ledger lies open blank. Your hand aches, fingernails crescent-mooned into your palm. The quill's gone. Check the floor, it's embedded in the stone, tip shattered. A muffled giggle echoes from the rafters. A wine cup appears at your elbow, tarnished silver, filled to the brim. It wasn't there before. Swirl the liquid, thick, black, stinking of burnt honey. Budapest's ruined pubs would charge €20 for this. Take a sip. Your tongue goes numb. The hall stretches, walls elongating like taffy. Portraits leer down, kings and queens melting into gargoyles. A door slams somewhere, glass shatters. The cup slips from your hand, hits the floor without a sound. You stand, knees buckling. The chair topples, its crash swallowed by the stones. Stagger toward the archway, cold air slaps your face. The torches snuff out again, leaving you blind. Something brushes your ankle, dry, brittle, too many fingers. Then light. A single candle gutters on the desk. The ledger's open to a fresh page, your name scrawled in jagged letters. Below it, a sketch of this room. You're drawn as a stick figure, hands pressed to your ears. A shadow looms behind all teeth and tattered velvet. Your throat tightens. The candle dies. In the dark, a hand grips your shoulder. It feels like yours. The cracked ledger fits in your palms like a coiled secret. Dust slides like powdered ghosts. As you lift the cover, its leather groans like an arthritic knight. Page edges crumble. Imagine centuries of servants hiding their truths here. Your thumb brushes a faded title. Keeper of Silenced Tales. Royal scribes used this title during Matthias Corvinus's reign, Hungary's answer to the Medici. If Medici collected dragon skulls instead of paintings. Your job description just got upgraded from wine pourer to secret hoarder. Medieval HR must have been a riot. A draft snakes through arrow slits, your candle gutters. Shadows stretch into clawed hands, reaching for the parchment. You press the quill down, the ink smells faintly of iron. That old scribe's trick, mixing oak gall with soot. Historians still argue whether those rust-colored stains in manuscripts are metaphor or literal blood. Judging by the ledger's copper tang. Betting on option B, the first entry details. A cook poisoning 7 dukes with bad quail eggs. Classic Tuesday in 1480. You scratch notes, your handwriting's all elbows and knees next to the elegant script. Flip to a page where someone's torn out a chunk. Only a phrase remains, and thus the crown swallowed its own tongue. Above it, wax drips form a crude lion symbol of the Huniadi dynasty. Coincidence. In haunted castles, coincidences punch you in the face and steal your lunch money. Something skitters behind the tapestry, a rat, a disgruntled ghost. You toss a sugar cube pilfered from the banquet. The skittering stops. Fun fact: medieval scribes supposedly trained rodents to lick errors off parchment. How's that for eco-friendly whiteout? The candlewick spits. Shadows twist. A man's gaunt profile emerges on the wall. His lips move soundlessly. You lean closer, he's mouthing "burn it." Your quill snaps. The shadow gestures toward the hearth. Nice try, spooky ventriloquist. But this nugget of royal gossips riding home in your brain. A wine stain blooms on the next page, blurring a list. Silenced March, 1493. Lady Ursabet's twin sons, master of hounds. A bard named Laszlo the Unlucky. Historians still argue whether these were executions or witness relocations. The duality of medieval problem solving, swords, or geography. Your neck prickles. The candle shrinks to a blue nub. The wax reeks of funeral tapers. 3 sentences left. The last line's ink shines wet despite centuries. The oath is not in the words, but in the silence between. The shadow man lurches forward, snuffs the flame. Darkness swallows the room. Somewhere, a door creaks open. Cold fingers brush your wrist, not quite touching. Time to test that keeper job security. You suck in breath and recite the first rule of secret keeping from Dad's tavern days. Snitches get stitches, but quiet folks get. A deafening thud shakes the table. The ledger slams shut. Moonlight reveals your hand, still gripping the quill, now bent like a fishhook. The hearth embers chuckle in their sleep. You tuck the book under your arm. It's lighter now, hungrier. Boots echo down the corridor, time to play innocent cupbearer. You pocket the sugar-free rat, just in case. That's when you hear it, a rasping breath from the ledger's spine. Paper doesn't breathe. Paper shouldn't laugh. But here you are, babysitting a giggling tome while Budapest sleeps. The door handle rattles. You duck behind a moth-eaten banner. Your hip bumps a hidden lever. Stone grinds on stone. A passage yawns open, exhaling air that smells of wet feathers and vanilla. Royal secret tunnels, original architects of just 5 more minutes syndrome. The ledger purrs against your ribs. You step into the dark. One truth scratches at your skull. This castle doesn't just hold secrets. It is the secret. The stones, the air, even the rats, especially the rats. Boots clomp closer, guard or ghoul. A rotten peach rolls into view, trailing a line of ants. The shadow man's profile flickers on the tunnel wall. He points deeper into blackness. His mouth forms the word run. You smirk. Dad's second rule of tavern keeping floats up. Never trust a man or ghost who says run in a fancy accent. You pluck the peach, lob it toward the boots. Let them deal with fruit warfare. The ledger hums approval, its pages riffle like a deck of marked cards. Moonlight dies behind you. The tunnel narrows. Somewhere ahead, liquid drips in time with your pulse. You whisper, note to self, next career move, professional tapestry critic. The ledger snorts. Or maybe that's your stomach. A child's laughter skitters past. Your candle's dead, but the walls begin to glow. Lichen, clinging to the stones, pulses, faintly green, bioluminescent decor. Finally, some decent castle lighting. You trail fingers over the moss. It withdraws like a shy squid. The dripping grows louder. Not water, too thick. The ledger's breath hitches. Turn back. The tunnel sealed itself. Of course it did. Medieval OSHA violations strike again. You round a bend and freeze. A silver chalice floats in midair, overflowing with wine. It spins lazily, droplets hanging like rubies. Your reflection warps in the metal, your eyes too wide, your smile too sharp. The ledger vibrates. Down the tunnel, something howls. Time to test a theory. You snatch the chalice. The liquid's warm like blood left in sunlight. The ledger hisses. Shadows erupt. The tunnel collapses into a thunder of stone and dust. Silence. You're back in the hall, chalice in hand. The ledger's gone. So's the hidden door. The hearth crackles innocently. Your sleeves stained Merlot red. Bootsteps fade down the corridor. A scrap of parchment flutters from nowhere. You catch it. Familiar handwriting, yours, but neater. The oath begins when the cup overflows. You glance at the chalice. It's empty now. The castle creaks like a satisfied predator. Somewhere a rat sneezes. Business as usual. Time to pour more wine and wait. The banquet hall buzzes like a beehive dipped in honey, except the honey's fermenting, and the bees are drunk. Nobles spin in peacock silks, their goblets clinking in a rhythm that makes your teeth ache. You weave through the chaos with a carafe of Egri Bikavér, bull's blood wine. But don't ask where they got the bull. King Matthias brought this stuff back from Wallachia. Same trip, he imported those alleged dragon vertebrae for his private museum. Lift your pinky for historical accuracy. A countess grabs your sleeve. Her perfume smells like roses and regret. Fill it to the rim. Darling, I've marriages to forget. The carafe trembles in your grip. Spilling wine here isn't a faux pas, it's a political statement. 3 drops escape, crimson petals blooming on the tablecloth. Medieval linen weavers would have cursed you for that. Fun fact, they used human urine to fix dyes. Bet that detail didn't make the palace brochures. The Duke at the head table slurs a toast to loyalty, the sharpest blade in Christendom. His guests cheer. Their teeth gleam like bone dice. You count the stains on his doublet, 3 this hour. Historians still argue whether Renaissance Hungary had more assassination attempts or indigestion cases. Spoiler, the symptoms look identical. A handmaiden trips into you, her headdress lurching like a drunken stork. Watch the poor fool, she hisses. You bow, a gesture that hides your eye roll. Your pocket bulges with sugar cubes. Rat bribes are currency here. The wine shivers in its vessel. Shadows stretch from the candelabras, elongated fingers brushing bread trenchers. A lord's goblet overflows. He doesn't notice. Liquid soaks into the cloth, sketching a shape, a raven. The Duke's laughter spikes. You clutch the carafe tighter. In 15th century courts, a toast could end in a knife fight or a new tax law. Tonight's betting odds, 50-50. A minstrel plucks a lute, strings whimpering like a stepped-on cat. The melody's familiar, same tune the shadow man mouthed in the ledger chamber. Coincidence or cosmic trolling? The nobles sway, oblivious. One spills wine on your shoe, apricot brandy, judging by the stench. You resist licking it. Professionalism, right. A page boy tumbles past his arms stacked with almond cakes. They sent 6 barrels of quince jelly from Transylvania. He wheezes, same region that banned left-handed scribes in 1487. Because, you know devil's etiquette. You smirk. The kid's got spunk. Also, crumbs in his hair. The carafe empties. Time for a refill. You slip toward the cellar stairs, guards snoring at their posts. Steal a pastry en route. Flaky, buttery, probably stolen from Byzantium. 3 steps down, the temperature drops. The air tastes of mold and bad decisions. Cellar barrels loom like sleeping giants. You tap one, the echo sounds hollow. A vintage prank. The bung pops loose. Wine cascades, blood warm and too thick. It's moving, coiling, spelling words on the floor. Stop, pouring. You drop the carafe. It shatters, shards skittering into darkness. The liquid retreats. Guards grumble upstairs. Smooth, real smooth. Back in the hall, the Duke's face purples. He's choking on indignation or actual poison. Hard to tell. His goblet's empty. Lady Ursabet watches from the corner, her smile carved from ice. That's your cue to vanish. A tapestry hides a servant's alcove. You duck inside, bump a shelf. A honey jar topples. Medieval Prozac, folks. The sweet stuff was prescribed for melancholy. Also, bribing Vikings. Your sleeves stained burgundy. The linen's patterns swirl, now a crown, now a key. The Duke's wheezes grow faint. You scribble notes on a napkin. It disintegrates. Of course, secret keeping's a contact sport here. The minstrel's song dies. All eyes turn to the Duke. He lurches upright, belches fire. Just a pepper-infused digestif. The crowd roars. You exhale. Crisis averted. Or postponed. Lady Ursabet glides past. Her sleeve brushes yours. A note materializes in your palm. Midnight. West Tower. Bring the stains. Her perfume lingers mint and menace. The carafe refills itself. Magic. Lazy house elves. Doesn't matter. You're pouring again. A bishop side-eyes your shaking hands. Nerves, boy. Allergies, your grace. Medieval dust mites are vicious. He chuckles. You survive another round. The hearth crackles, its flames whisper a name. Laszlo, the bard from the ledger. Coincidences are getting clingy. Midnight looms. The Duke demands sturgeon pie, extinct in Hungary since 1602. You serve him pickled herring with a straight face. His dentures click. The banquet rolls on a carousel of gluttony and lies. One lord sips from a cup shaped like a skull. His toast to secrets earns nervous titters. The wine in his goblet swirls counterclockwise. Physics? Nope. Omen? Probably. You count 10 stains on his collar. 10 silent screams. A crash. The minstrel's lute smashes. His fingers bleed. The nobles applaud. You pocket a string. It hums against your thigh, middle C, vibrating with dread. The ledger's laugh echoes in your bones. You glance at the moonlit window. Almost time. The carafes empty again. Lady Ursabet nods once. You nod back. The Duke collapses face, first into peacock pie. Feathers cling to his beard. The crowd cheers. Guards haul him upright. Just another Tuesday. You slip away, wine stains mapping your path like breadcrumbs. The West Tower waits. So does whatever choked the word stop from spilled Cabernet. The castle sighs, its stones shifting like a sleeper restless with bad dreams. Your shoe squelches. The honey jar leaks. Rats emerge, their eyes reflecting the note in your hand. Midnight's a suggestion here. The stains glow faintly. Time to see what price parchment demands. The West Tower stairs creak like a chorus of arthritic ravens. Your breath fogs. Midnight's chill clings to the stones. Lady Ursabet's note burns through your pocket. Bring the stains. Candlelight flickers ahead, a lone taper drowning in its own wax. You pause. The puddle beneath the candles, not just melted wax anymore. It's shaping itself. A crown first, jagged peaks resembling Matthias's lost diadem. Then a key, its teeth too elaborate, more spider legs than iron. Finally, a raven midcaw. Renaissance wax seals often hid messages, sure, but this feels less secret memo and more omen delivery. You lean closer. The wax crown drips, reforming as a noose. Helpful. Back in Buda Castle's heyday, beeswax candles were law. Only royalty got the good stuff. Peasants, they made do with tallow, smelled like burning foot fungus. Your finger hovers. Touch it and what? Summon a ghost. Order takeout. The raven's beak parts. A draft hisses through the room. SSS stop. Nope. Not today, Satan. Lady Ursabet materializes beside you, her minty perfume cutting the mildew. Read the shapes, Cupbearer. Her nail traces the key. The same symbol marked Vlad Dracula's prison cell. Coincidence? You blink. 3 foreign philosophers say candles eavesdrop on the dead. Ever tried earwax? She doesn't laugh. Tough crowd. The wax congeals into a new form, a locust. Cold seeps into your shoes, crawls up your calves. Your stained sleeve itches. Medieval dyers used crushed beetles for crimson hues. Feels like their ghosts are billing you for fabric abuse. Ursabet prods the locust. In Pajanya, midwives dripped wax into water to predict births. If it formed a sword, stillborn. She smirks. They blamed witchcraft when it made a teapot. The locust shatters. Shards skitter across the floor. Your toes go numb. Historians still argue whether wax divination was women's coded rebellion or just bad arts and crafts. The cold hits your knees now. You stamp your feet, clang echoes. Quiet. Sabit points. The wax reforms. A bridge, a sword, a crying babe. Standard prophecy bingo. Then a perfect miniature of this tower, your tower, with 2 stick figures inside. One figure lifts a quill. The other, let's just say its head's a bit detachable. The candle snuffs out. Only moonlight now, pale as a nun's knuckles. Your teeth chatter. Sea cold. Naturally. Sabit's rings gleam. Buda's tunnels stay icy year-round, same temperature as a vampire's armpit. She flicks a wax scrap. It sizzles on the floor. They designed these walls to preserve food and secrets. The numbness reaches your ribs. Frost feathers across the note in your hand. Words blur midnight. West Tower. Bring the stains as fresh ink blooms beneath. Did you really think we wouldn't taste the wine? Oh, creepy. You cough. Any chance this cold's just bad insulation? Doubtful. She yanks your stained sleeve. Linen frays, the burgundy blotches swirl. Crown, key, raven, same as the wax. The dye's reacting. You've been marked. Marked for what? A promotion. Free pastries. A choice. Her thumb smears the largest stain, a raven taking flight. The cold punches your sternum. You wheeze. Something groans in the walls. Not rats, something bigger. Hungary's parliament building has a hidden passage for drunken lawmakers. This feels less civic-minded. The wax puddle's moving again. No flames left, but it's melting. Defying physics like a rebellious teen. Shapes blur, a wolf, a thorned circle, a hanged man. Classic Saturday night in Buda. Sabit grips your wrist. The stains are a map. The cold, a deadline. Deadline for what? The frost reaches your collarbone. Your pulse thrums in your temples. Some idiot hung mistletoe in the doorway, probably stolen from a Vlach sorcerer's garden. To choose, her breath freezes midair. Serve the crown or serve the truth. They're divorcing. The candle reignites green this time. Wax boils over, forming letters. Kosconom, thanks in Hungarian. Charming. A door slams below. Lady Sabit vanishes, because mentors love dramatic exits. The cold retreats, leaving bone-deep aches. Your stained sleeve lies stiff, fabric frozen into origami creases. The wax hardens. Final shape, a cupbearer's goblet, cracked down the middle. You pocket a wax shard. It burns like dry ice. Medieval problem-solving tip. Always carry snacks. You munch a stolen almond cake. Sugar fights existential dread. Moonlight shifts. The tower stairways clear now. Distant laughter floats up, banquet guests still partying. One lord's singing off-key about defenestration. Architects should, added thicker windows. Your breath steadies. The note's new message glows faintly. Time to regroup. Also, steel warmer socks. Halfway down, you trip on a loose step. Your knee hits stone, pain flares. The wax shard shatters. Green smoke hisses up, smelling of burnt sage and regret. A voice whispers through the vapor, find the well that drinks light. Then silence. You sigh. Cryptic bastard. Back in the hall, a drunk countess waves her goblet. More wine, dreamy. The carafe's full again, liquid dark as a Budapest winter. You pour. 3 drops splash her sleeve. They morph into tiny ravens. She doesn't notice. Crisis toasted. The hearth fire spits. Wax drips from a candle overhead, splattering your neck. Cold returns. You shiver. Somewhere, a bell tolls. The cupbearer's choice can wait. For now, keep pouring, keep staining, keep breathing. The drunk countess's raven-stained sleeve brushes your arm, ice crystals prickle your skin. A high C sharp slices through the hall's murmur, a violin string snapping. You turn. The minstrel's gallery sits empty, except for their abandoned lutes. Another note quivers, a G minor tremolo, frayed at the edges, like someone's bowing with cobwebs. Hungarian composers loved the legato style, haunting melodies that listen to silence. It's listening to your funeral. You climb the spiral stairs, each step muffled by moth-eaten tapestries. Your breath hitches. Franz Liszt once played a Budapest recital so intense, 12 women fainted. 0, faint-worthy skill here, just phantom vibrato, and the reek of rosin gone rancid. The gallery's shadowed, a single music stand tilts, its parchment blank. The bow moves anyway, scraping air. Horsehair frays, each strand glowing faintly blue. You crouch. A 1717 Stradivarius lies discarded in the corner, its F-holes clogged with "Is that honey?" requests. The voice comes from nowhere, raspy, like grit in a wine press. The bow digs deeper into an invisible string. A high E sharp wails. Your molar cracks. Renaissance musicians added wolf tones to melodies as audible poison. Mission accomplished. You swipe the Strad. The bow halts. Cold metal presses your neck. Violin strings make decent garrots. The player materializes, pale as parchment, eyes scooped out voids. His cravat's knotted too tight, eternal fashion victim. He plucks a string from thin air. Your pulse thumps in sync. 99 bottles of palinka on the wall, you croak. Humor as a defense mechanism, rated F for failing spectacularly. His bow hovers. A moth flutters into it, instantly mummified in resin. You pocket the Strad, heavy as a brick. Ever tried selling a ghost violin? Pawnbrokers would riot. The specter points north. His finger crumbles like old rosin through a grime-caked window, a courtyard well, its stones stained with iron oxide. The well that drinks light. Cryptic checklist item unlocked. Your boot scuffs a floorboard. Sheet music appears annotated in blood lipstick. It's Shahzad, Hungary's unofficial anthem. But the lyrics changed. O Magyar, keep lying to yourself instead of keep trusting. Biting. The violinist dissolves, leaving his bow midair. It solders through Csardas' now spiteful staccato. Baroque composers hid political codes in dance music. Habsburg censors were not the sharpest quills. You retreat downstairs. The bow follows, nicking your earlobe. A blood droplet hits the stolen Strad's scroll. It disintegrates, ashes swirling into a grimalkin's face. It mouths soon. Catty little haunt. Back in the hall, nobles waltz obliviously. Their violinists alive, sweating through his doublet. His instrument, a crudely carved thing with goat gut strings. You pity eavesdrop. He's butchering Korhal a Magyar. Your ghost, Strad, vibrates in your bag. The live violinist's a string snaps, whips his cheek. Coincidence? Probably not. 17th century luthiers often signed their souls into masterpieces. Urban legend. Tell that to his new facial scar. The noble crowd claps. The damaged violin sprouts mold mid-performance. A highborn girl swoons, her parmesan rind, perfume clashing with the rot. You slip toward the courtyard, bag humming. Historians still argue whether cursed instruments reflect trauma or just need better varnish. Moonlight guidestones you to the well. Its bucket dangles, rusted chains creaking. You drop a wax shard from section 4. It plinks, plinks, plinks. No splash. The well's throat exhales, a low cello C. Your stolen Strad resonates, vibrating your ribs. You hum an A note. The well hums back a dies irae motif. Cheery. A jolt, your palm slams the well's rim. Names carve themselves under your fingers. Istvan, Ludza, Matthias. Each vanishes as you read. Ottoman siege victims scratched prayers into fortress walls. Their ghosts dislike erasure. The well water glows now, liquid twilight. Your reflection ripples. Behind you, the violinist materializes, rosin dust snowing from his cuffs. He nods at the water. Jump. His first lucid word. Hard pass, you say. I've seen the ring. He scowls, a dried plum collapsing. Then plays a single note, the well's glow dies. Your Strad's neck warms, too warm. You drop it. The instrument roots into the earth, bridge first. Strings sprout like ivy. A rasp above the gallery's bow impales the dirt beside you. It grows too, twisting into a sapling. Fiddle-shaped leaves tremble. You poke one. It emits a perfect B-flat. Arborescent audiophilia. The violinist fades, but his tempo lingers, a presto heartbeat in your temples. You pocket a leaf. Midnight lessons with Vivaldi's ghost. Pass. Teachers graded too harshly. The well remains silent. Secrets, like old instruments, need the right hands. You're more of a wine pourer. Back inside, the live violinist nurses his broken instrument. You slide him the spectral bow. Trade for that apricot strudel. He hesitates, then snatches it. His violin heals instantly, gleaming with unnatural luster. The next note he plays liquefies a duke's wig. Polite applause follows. You munch strudel, the fillings lavender and regret. A high note shatters a stained glass window. Cold night air floods in. The ghost, Strad's tree, is visible now, branches clawing at the moon. Fruit dangles, violins swollen like plums. Scholars still argue whether the original Devil's Trill Sonata caused 7 actual deaths. Tonight's encore, Hold My Palinka. You pour more wine. The countess's sleeve ravens now dive bombing her caviar. A bass note from the courtyard well shivers your spine. The cupbearer's choice can wait. Again. For now, refill the glasses. Dodge the F-sharp shrapnel. Hum along. The hearth's glow licks your shadow. Embers whisper in time with your pulse. You kneel. Ash flakes cling to your sleeves like gray snow. That half-charred scroll taunts you, its edges curling into blackened fists. Brass tongs nearby, ornate things shaped like heron necks. You pinch the parchment. It crumbles, of course. Medieval scribes swore by oak gall ink, durable enough to outlive empires, brittle enough to mock your curiosity. One fragment survives. A single word survives. Arulaz. Betrayal. The letters bleed into the stone floor, red as fresh vicegrad paprika. Hungary's blood countess bathed in maiden's blood, sure. But this stain smells of iron, not legend. The fireplace coughs. A spark lands on your wrist. It doesn't burn. Odd. Renaissance apothecaries sold holy embers as love charms. Hustlers mostly, though this one, it sears a tiny M into your skin. Monogrammed pain. You blow ash. It swirls into a mini tornado, forming a face you recognize. That diplomat from Section 22, the one who gifted the tooth-eyed hair. His lips move. No sound. The tongs grow hot. You drop them, they clatter into the ash. An unburned corner emerges, text intact. 3 barrels of saltpeter gifted to the southern garrison, saltpeter. Gunpowder's soul. Ottomans craved it during the 1683 siege. But this is dated 1679. Suspiciously early. Footsteps shuffle behind you. A maid. She freezes, broom mid-sweep. The master said to clean the ashes. Her stare darts to the scroll shreds. Those aren't for lingering. Define lingering, you say. Asking for a friend with a heron fetish. She pales. Bristles snap as she scrubs, sweeping your precious fragments into dustpans. Medieval hospitals used burnt parchment poultices for arrow wounds. Can't recommend the hygiene. Wait, you grab her sleeve. She jerks back. A scrap flutters down 2 words, Capisvar and midnight. Gone. The hearth's rhythm doubles, thump thump, thump thump. Your ribs echo it. Doctors once diagnosed heart madness by matching pulses to musical beats. Yours skips a measure. You poke the embers. A metal box glints, hidden in the andirons, its locks shaped like a chalice. Nudge it with the tongs. Click. Inside, a miniature portrait. A man. A bishop's collar, but his crucifix is upside down. Flipping, it reveals script. Forgive me, Ursabit. Historians still argue whether the infamous noblewoman's crimes were treason or treasonous rumors. Either way, bad bedtime reading. The maid returns with company. A guard's tasseled helmet dips low. Lordship wants fire wine mulled. He glares at the open box. Best not touch what's buried. Wasn't planning to. You slide the portrait into your cuff. Unless buried includes his secret Rakaja stash. The guard's mace twitches. You rise, ash cascading off your coat like gloomy confetti. Mulling spices are in the pantry, you add. Third shelf. Behind the rat poison, his frown deepens. The maid stifles a laugh. Team building achieved. Alone again, you exhale. That heartbeat rhythm thrums louder from the fireplace itself. Press your palm to the soot. The stones vibrate. Baroque architects hid resonating chambers in walls for acoustical marvels. This feels intentional. You hum a low D. The hearth answers with a G sharp. A chord Mozart used in Requiem's Lacrimosa. Two on the nose. Ash swirls again, coalescing into numbers. 1703. The year of Kuruk rebellions, freedom fighters, terrorists, depends which portrait you steal. The numbers rearrange. 1073. Reverse alchemy. A great shifts behind the flames. Secret compartments, standard nobility nonsense. Reach through. The heat feels gelatinous. Your fingers brush parchment. Grab. Out comes a letter sealed with oxblood wax. The paper's eerily cold. Breaking the seal releases a sigh. The script's dense, loops sharp as stiletto heels. My dear traitor, it begins. Charming. The well's thirst is unquenched. 3 names it demands: the smith, the nun, the crow. Fail this, and your son's bones will season the palinka. No signature. Ink gleams wetly. 1710, shellac-based, notorious for cracking. This flows like liquid night. Your thumb smudges nothing. Alchemy or entitlement. The hearth hisses. Flames shrink to emerald pinpricks. You step back wisely. A carved stone dislodges from the mantle. It rolls toward your boot, a die. Ivory, 20 sides. Numbers, no letters. An early cipher die. Renaissance spies used walnut-sized ones. This bulkier model spells Caution on its visible faces. Helpful. The guard's voice booms outside. Mulled wine's burnt. Classic diversion. You pocket the die. Letter in one hand, tongs in the other, improvised swordsmanship. Shadow stretches across the floor, a figure in the doorway. Not the guard. A silhouette with a cane and a bishop's mitre. Admiring my family's hearth, his voice oils the air. The portrait's face, aged, same inverted cross pendant. Just keeping warm, you say. The Inquisition called, said you're behind on heretic quotas. He steps closer, cane tip, glinting silver, wolf's head handle. Fire reveals truth and lies. He nods at the letter in your hand. That one burns hottest. The parchment ignites. Blue flames swallow the threat about sons and palinka. Your fingers, unscathed. The bishop smiles, cracked lips peeling. Even ash remembers. So does the tax bureau, you say. Ever declare that offshore vault in Buda? Humor as armor, still grade F his cane swings, you duck. It gouges the wall. Plastered dust rains. The maid screams. Guards thunder in. Chaos cuisine. You bolt past bewildered nobles into the cellar's gloom. The letter's ashes cling to your palm. Under a lone candle, you study them. Residue forms a map. The courtyard wells circled thrice. Footsteps above, muffled shouts. Search the vaults, the candle gutters. Your shadow dances, a marionette jig. Time to test those Cupbearer coordinates. You murmur the year 1703. The hearth's cadence thrums in your veins. Rebellion's a dish best served covert, or with paprika. Either way, the cupbearer's notes grow heavier, much like your eyelids. Moonlight slants through diamond-paned windows, your only ally tonight. The stone floor numbs your knees. Ledgers loom, leather spines cracked like old skin. You pry one open. Dust blooms a chew. 17th century paper mites were no joke. Top entry, 16 September, 1678. Payment for 11 yards of Flanders lace. Mundane. Flip, 4 July, 1679. 12 bolts of damask. Boring. Next page, 18 August, 1683. 5 years gone, skipped like river stones. Medieval accountants hated voids, so why these gaps? A spider scuttles across 1680's blank page. You flick it. Scurrying sounds followed by plop. It lands in your abandoned wine goblet. Fermented Momsey beats cobwebs any night. The next ledger's heavier. Iron clasps bite your palms. Inside, inventory lists from Transylvanian vineyards. 9 barrels to Master Horvath. 7 to Dame Varga. Margins bristle with scribbles, names scratched out with such fury, the quill tore through vellum. One name repeats under layers of ink. Ferenc Szentmihalyi. You trace the letters. Skinny F's, jagged S's. Habsburg tax records called him a spice merchant. His cinnamon shipments vanished at Gyre's border, along with his head. Moonlight shifts. The scratched names shimmer silver flecks in the ink. Mercury. Alchemists added it for eternal legibility. Poisonous party trick. Your fingertip tingles. A ledger slams shut. Not your doing. The air chills, breath fogging. Ghostly librarians need better hobbies. You prop it open with a candlestick. Tarnish rubs off on your thumb. Silver, but missing the Habsburg crest. Budapest's Grand Museum would weep. Page 347 reveals a sketch. A crossbow spanning 2 paragraphs. Strings drawn with ruler straight lines. Ottoman siege engineers used similar designs during the 1686 Buda assault. This blueprint predates it by 14 years. Coincidence? Not in this castle. Margins whisper again. Szentmihalyi becomes Kavox, becomes Arva, each name crossed harder. A genealogy of erasure. Your quill hovers. Dipping it feels reckless. Something drips ink. No, your nosebleed. Great. Blood splatters the page. The parchment sizzles. Words bloom where drops hit, rust-colored script. Trader's Gate. South Orchard. Bring the silver. Invisible ink activated by a hemoglobin. You press a sleeve to your nose. Note to self. Medieval booger defense. 0 stars. Footsteps clack downstairs, guard patrol. Snuff the candle. Moonlight whitens the ledgers. The hidden message glows faintly now. Iron gall ink reacts to blood's iron. plausible. Hungarian POWs used potato starch codes in WWII, same principle, less gross. A floorboard creaks behind you, not the guards, something stickier. The air sweetens rotten apricots. Duke Laszlo, vintner extraordinaire and part-time backstabber, documenting our vinegar stores. His whisper coats your neck in goosebumps, tallying how many casks it'd take to pickle your ego. He chuckles sound like gravel in honey. Check the 1691 entries. The amendments. Gone. You count to 17. Open to 1691. The pages are missing. No torn edges. Surgical removal. But indentations remain. Hold the ledger sideways. Press your nail into the vellum. Ghost letters emerge. Buda's ransom paid in wine. Golden chalice given. Terms violated. Third moon. Hungary's 1699 treaty with Austria required tribute wines. Historians still argue whether the Habsburgs poisoned the casks. Evidence, mostly hiccuping diplomats. A moth lands unviolated. Its wings beat the rhythm from the hearth. Thump, 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 thump. You swat it. Wing dust sticks to your palm, forming a tiny hourglass. Midnight approaches. Capisvar's coordinates itch in your mind. That well isn't digging itself. You pocket Ferdinand II's silver candlestick. Fits nicely with the bishop's portrait. Loot's piling up. The last ledger's lock resists. Pick it with a hairpin. Italian steel, thank you, paranoid lordlings. Inside, payroll records. Stable hands paid in salt, armorers in dried plums, tutors in lead bullets. Makes sense if your school's a battlefield. A pressed flower falls out, Turk's cap lily. Symbol of the 1703 Kuruk rebels. Petals crumble at your touch. History's confetti. Final entry, 2 February 1709. Page torn. Someone glued it back with is that sausage grease. Preservation through charcuterie. Desperate times. Decipher the text. Last payment to Captain V ceased due to rest is smudged. You lick your thumb, bad life choices, and rub. Ink bleeds, demise at Zalium Creek. Captain V led a Kuruk cavalry unit. Folk songs claim he drowned in a barrel of plum brandy. Tax records are drier, literally. Moonlight fades. Clouds conspire. You fumble for the candlestick, knock over an inkwell. Black pools spread. Shapes form a horse, a crown, a hanged man. Rorschach test from hell. The candlewick ignites on its own. Green flame, boric acid, alchemy, whatever. Lights light, new shadows leap. One stays put, hooded figure by the door. Quill in hand, writing on the wall. Leave, now, original. You grab the nearest book, hurl it, passes through them. Hits a suit of armor. Clang. Guards shout, archives. Time to go. Ledger under your arm, you vault the windowsill. Knees hate you. A grappling hook would have been nice. The moat's 20 feet down. Water reflects a distorted moon and a silhouette watching from the library. The scribe, bishop, X. You jump, cold shock. The ledger floats, pages fanning like a dying jellyfish. Grab it. Swim. Mud squelches between your toes. Courtyard wall ahead guards torchlight approaching. The well's there waiting. You toss a pebble. No splash. A ladder descends into the mouth, convenient. Also fishy. Climb down. Rungs slick with is that lichen or dried blood? Both, probably. Above, shouts fade. Your fingers find a ledge wooden box. Pry it open. Inside, a single pearl. Twist it. A click. The well's wall swings inward. Secret tunnels, your 12th today. Crawl. Cobwebs cling sticky as royal promises. Something skitters past, the spider from earlier. Here for revenge. The tunnel widens. You stand, bumping your head. Stars flash, actual stars. A shaft reveals the sky. Coordinates align. Capisvar's latitude, adjusted for 3 centuries of map drift. The ledgers dates their coordinates too. Whip out the codex. Cross-reference. Numbers blur, adrenaline ruinous. A drop hits your neck. Water or drool, don't look up. The ladder creaks slow, weighty footsteps descending. Your pocket warms the cipher die. Roll it. Faces glow. FALL. Ambassadors, hair, teeth flash in your memory. That well water looks deeper now. You leap. You land ankle deep in muck. The stink of wet limestone thick enough to chew. The tunnel's walls press close, crusted with saltpeter blooms that crackle under your touch. Your candle gutters, dies, relights with a sulphurous pop. Green flame again. Alchemists' party tricks never get old. Ahead, a rusted iron door, its hinges groan like a widowed gull. Beyond, a portrait gallery choked with cobwebs. Canvases sag nobles, faces melted into Dali-esque drips. Except one. The boy stares. Oil-slick eyes track you as you sidestep. Crown tilted left, gems strangled by spider silk. His ruffled collar stinks of lavender and gunpowder. Hungary's lost Prince Ferenc Rákóczi II wore similar lace during his 1704 uprising. Too old. This kid's maybe 12. You lean closer. Brush dust from the frame. Black reeds. Matthias, 1657. Matthias Corvinus ruled centuries earlier, some mix-up. Habsburg propagandists loved rewriting lineage. But the date. A spider descends plops onto your wrist. Its legs tap Morse code, or just arachnid jazz hands. You shake it off. The portrait's eyes snap forward. Follow you again. Creepy little Habsburg, you mutter. Plaster cracks behind the canvas. Fingers emerge bone yellow, grasping empty air. Nope. You backpedal, trip over a moth-eaten ottoman. The wall shifts. Panels slide, revealing a hidden alcove. Inside, a jeweled casket small enough to cradle. Its locks a twin-headed eagle, missing one head. Ottoman sabers got feisty. Lift the lid. Parchment scraps, third-grade origami rejects. Smooth them out. To His Majesty Matthias III. Correction fluid splotches the title. Regret to inform treaty negotiations collapsed. Vienna demands the silver lion of Pressburg's lion statue. vanished during the 1683 Ottoman siege. Historians still argue whether it was melted into cannonballs or smuggled to Poland. This note's dated 1659. Time-traveling looters. A rat squeals behind the wainscoting. You lob a paper ball at the noise. The portrait's crown slips further, revealing a hole in the canvas. Inside, a velvet pouch. Pour its contents into your palm. 18 carnelian beads. Prayer rosary. Child's toy. One bead unscrews. Hollow. Inside, a molar with a silver filling. 17th century dentists used tin, so whose grin hosted this metal. The wall fingers drum faster. Your candle dims. Time to go. You pocket the casket. Ethical? No, but museums love a good heist story. Turn to leave. The boy's painted hand thrusts through the canvas. Real, cold, grips your wrist. His lips part. A whisper leaks out like tomb air. Ursiomlik. Hungarian for collapsing. Czechoslovakian dialect, rare after the 1690 plague. Odd choice for a royal ghost. Floorboards splinter. You yank free, dive for the tunnel as the gallery folds like a house of cards. Stones crash, sealing the alcove forever. Back in the sewer, you check your haul. The casket's warm now. Vibrates. Great. Haunted jewelry box. A bead rolls out, leaves a trail in the muck. Follow it. It stops at a brick etched with 3 symbols: raven, well, crescent moon. Ottoman graffiti from the 1686 siege. Soldiers marked safe routes or cursed ones. The brick loosens. Behind it, a doll-sized coronation robe. Velvet nibbled by moths. Stitched inside, M. Kurilifi. Prince M. Hungarian royals avoided that title after 1670. Superstition. A draft riffles your hair. The candle flares blue. Noticed you sniffing around Matthias, says a voice like creaking chandelier chains. The architect from section 20 leans against the wall, blueprint scrolls poking from his doublet. He wasn't Corvinus. The Habsburgs revised his parentage. Let me guess, they edited his Wikipedia page too. A wheezy laugh. His wet nurse smuggled him from Prague in a loot case, buried near Estrogum beneath a stable. Sounds fake, but in 1982, renovators found a child's skeleton under a Talk-Edge winery, clutching a miniature crown. Archaeologists called it a ceremonial oddity and reburied it. The architect fade coughs, dissolving into mortar dust. Your boots squelch onward. The tunnel forks left smells of rosewater, right of gunpowder. You choose rosewater. Wrong move. The walls narrow. Ceiling dips, you crawl. A portrait scrapes your back. Matthias again. Younger. Cradling a dove with a human ear. Eat more fiber, you tell him. The crawl space ends at a dry well. Moonlight filters through its grill. Above voices, guards debating paprika chicken recipes. You climb the algae-slick bricks. The casket hums louder, might wake the rats. At the top, peek through the grill. You're under the south orchard. Stars align. The plow points to that oak tree with the axe scar. The architect's blueprint labeled it Negi Karali's Folly. Pry the grill open, squeeze through. The casket leaps from your pocket, rolls to the oak. It splits the trunk with a crack. Inside, a skeleton in rotting satin. Gold plaque on the ribs, M. Curlifi. The jaw unhinges. A voice grates. The crown is the key. Then collapses into ash. You're left holding a femur and life choices. Dawn bleeds across the orchard. Somewhere, a bell tolls. The ledger in your bag feels heavier, pages whispering names you can't unhear. You stuff the femur into an empty wine jug. Tourists'll call it art. Next stop, Buda's old tunnels. But first, a shadow peels from the oak. The portrait boy, solid now. He points to your boot. A carnelian bead glints in the lace. Keep it, he says, voice less spooky in daylight. Souvenirs outlive dynasties. Wind scatter his form into pollen. You pocket the bead, it burns like a just-fired bullet. Birdsong erupts, guards chuckle by the gatehouse. Another day in the land of erased princes and mercury-backed lies. You whistle a Kuruk marching song, off-key, as you stride toward the eastern gate. The bead's heat pulses. Or maybe that's your liver failing. Either way, history's got your tongue now. No giving it back. The eastern gate's shadow swallows you whole, dampness clings like a second skin. Stairs spiral down, each step slick, with something best left unimagined. Your boot cracks a rat's skull. Its comrades chatter approval from the dark. Cellar air curdles, part vinegar, part corpse breath. Barrels line the walls, bulging with grain from Charles. II's 1680 famine relief shipments. Rumor says they were filled with sawdust to fool inspectors. Judging by the fungal rainbows blooming on the staves, yeah. You nudge a cask. Its lid topples, spilling blackened wheat. 100 oily shapes erupt, tails lashing your ankles. One pauses, stands on hind legs. Its left ear's notched. You've seen that mark before, on plague quarantine maps from Marseille. Historians still argue whether medieval rat catchers coated their traps with ear cuts. Nice piercing, you say. It squeaks, a sound like bending tin. The swarm freezes. Every beady eye locks onto your satchel. Right, you stole cheese from the pantry 3 sections back. Rookie mistake. Toss a moldy hunk. Rats descend, their feast a grotesque ballet. One drags a morsel into a crack in the wall. You kneel, peer into the gap. A ledger page glows faintly. Recognize the handwriting from Section 7's moonlit research, spidery loops, paranoid crossouts. Day 47. They've gnawed through the saltpeter stores. Blessed rodents. Perhaps they'll eat the tax records next. A clawed paw yanks the paper deeper. You lun, tear half free. The fragment shows a crude map. X marks this cellar. Dig fingernails into the mortar. A brick slips out, reveals a rusted key. Its bow's shaped like a rat king. Pest control guilds used these as master keys during the 1679 Vienna outbreak. Quack medicine or genius. Jury's out. The swarm's chatter rises. Notched ear licks its paws, stares at your left boot. You glance down. A carnelian bead from section 8 winks in the gloom. Drop it. Rats swarm, their squeals hitting glass-shattering pitches. The bead rolls into a drain, plink-plonking through pipes. Follow the sound. It leads to a wine vat labeled 1597 Takagi. Do not open under penalty of beheading. Habsburgs loved their threats and their crippling alcoholism. Inside the vat, no wine, just a rat's nest woven from shredded tapestries. At the center, a doll-sized throne. Carved rat skulls adorn its arms. Reminds you of the Maustour folktales, though Mainz is a long way from Buda. Notched ear leaps onto the throne. It drops something at your feet, a mummified fig. Bite it. Sweetness explodes, then bitterness. Spit. A sliver of bone clinks on stone. Subtle, you croak. Rats scatter as torchlight floods the cellar. Guards' boots thunder above. Duck behind the vat, knock over a barrel. Its contents pour out, not sawdust. Letters, hundreds, sealed with the Rakoczy family crest. Snatch one. Break the wax. It smells of paprika and regret. To the Honorable Ratcatcher General. Payment enclosed for services rendered during the rest disintegrates. 1678. Payroll records mention ratcatchers earning double during sieges. Maybe they were spies. Debate that at your next history pub quiz. Torchlight wavers. Guards move on. You pocket the key. Its teeth leave rust stains on your palm. Notched ear watches from a rafter. Nods, creepy. A squeak echoes near the drain. The carnelian beads back, dripping with sewer sludge. It pulses faintly. Great. Now the arthropods are tattling on you. Crawl through the drain, knees scraping Tudor-era pipework. Emerge in a crypt or a wine cellar. Same difference here. Cobwebbed skeletons clutch goblets, a dance macabre theme party gone wrong. Your stolen key fits a tomb marked NN, no name. Inside, rat bones arranged into a tiny castle. A flag made from the Hungarian crown's missing velvet patches flies atop the keep. Symbols from the architect's blueprints in section 20, graffiti, the walls. Notched ear materializes, drops a fig seed into your hand. Carve it into a magnifying glass. Sure. Peer at the tiny castle. Through a window, a doll-sized Matthias waves. Ghosts really need hobbies. The crypt shudders. Time to go. Pocket the Rat King key. It'll look great on a necklace. Or get you arrested. 50-50. Sunlight stabs through a grate overhead. Climb. Emerge in the courtyard, right behind the Paprika Chicken Debate Club. Slip away as they argue over common ratios. Notched ear perches on the well. Tosses the carnelian bead up, catches it midair. Keep the key dry, it rasps. Since when do rodents do voiceovers? Wind slams the cellar door shut, a final thud echoing through the stones. Somewhere, a ledger page flutters, recording every step. You kick dust over the drain. Let future historians wonder. The courtyard's gravel crunches like sugar glass beneath your boots, still buzzing from rat monarch diplomacy. Past the Paprika debaters, A scullery maid points you toward the West Archives. Her wink suggests either helpfulness or a sty infection. You choose to believe the former. Dust motes swarm in the archive's entrance, each speck lit by hateful noon sun. Shelves yawn into shadow, their contents smelling of wormhood and abandonment. A desk groans under ledgers stamped with the Fugger family crest. Those Augsburg bankers funded half the Renaissance and all its forgeries. Footsteps shuffle behind you, too light for human feet. Spin around. Nothing but a tapestry rippling. Its embroidery shows scholars drowning in ink. Cheery, seeking answers or more poor decisions. The voice comes from everywhere, a whisper woven into the rafters. Your hand drifts toward a book titled Heresies in minor key. Its spine pricks your palm. Jerk back. Blood wells from 3 punctures, since when do pages grow thorns? A man materializes by the atlas shelf, pale as vellum. His robes hang wrong like they're tailored for someone with extra elbows. Slides a tome across the desk. It scrapes wood raw. Read carefully. The cover's leather shivers, ridged with what looks like bramble stems. Bibliophiles in the 1600s, sometimes laced bindings with arsenic, kept silverfish away and readers on their toes. This thing ate the rulebook. You flip to a random page. Ink swirls, forming a basilisk staring contest. Blink first. The letters rearrange into a recipe. Take 7 drops of hanged man's sweat. A crow's third caw a paper cut blooms on your thumb. The blood bead rolls onto the page. It hisses, steam rising in the shape of Ottoman siege maps. Charming party trick. The librarian leans closer. His breath smells of burnt syllabub. They'll search your chambers tonight. He taps an illustration, a crowned figure holding a key made of smoke. Memorize this. Then burn it. The threat of arson feels excessive, but hey, you're holding a book that growls. Tear out the page. It struggles like a hooked eel. The librarian vanishes, taking the scent of custard with him. Flint strikes. The fire consumes the parchment greedily. Smoke curls into a perfect replica of King Sigismund's lost scepter. Whole museums would kill for this pyrotechnic show. Poof, it's gone. Your eyes water from more than smoke. Ever hear of the Devil's Bible? Folks claimed its parchment was made from donkey hides bathed in moonless rivers. This feels worse. The remaining pages rustle, a chorus of dry coughs. Shelves creak. A ledger topples its pages, fanning into a winged thing. It flutters toward the rafters. Decide not to mention this in future therapist sessions. The book snaps shut, catching your sleeve. Thorns bite through linen. Fine, we'll do this your way. Open it again. Blank pages now, except for one phrase pulsing like a bad vein. Beware the keeper of bees. Wind slams through arrow slits. Your stolen rat key burns in its pocket. The librarian was right about room searches. Time to relocate. Shove the book under your doublet. It squirms against your ribs. The door's iron ring sears your palm, frost cold despite the heat. Historians still argue whether cursed texts gave people rashes or just really bad paper cuts. A guard's shadow stretches across the corridor. Duck into an alcove. Your heartbeat thuds in tempo with the squirming book. The guard sniffs, mutters about moldy trenchers. Light a stolen candle. Study the thorny cover by flame. Recognize the tooled leather pattern, same as the stable boy's boots in section 24. Coincidence or conspiracy? The Habsburgs preferred silk anyway. The book calms when you hum a tavern tune. Pages soften into regular vellum. Weirdest rebound ever. A sketch appears, a library staircase, descending through 9 circles of hell. Dante's publicist would sue. Candle wax drips onto an illustration of a feast. Figures hold goblets overflowing with spiders. One diner has your face. Blow out the flame. Nope. Dawn claws at the windows. Hide the book inside a hollow altar, leftovers from when this was a chapel. The Virgin Mary statues missing her hands. Appropriate. Scrape fresh tallow over the thorn binding. It quiets for now. Your sleeve's a lost cause. Blood and wax make a decent paisley pattern, though. Footsteps approach too rhythmic for guards. Press against cold stone. A novice sweeps past, chanting about damnation. His broom stirs up ash ghosts. They dissolve into the morning light. The book safe. The key safe-ish. You step into the hall, the taste of burnt mythology sharp on your tongue. Somewhere, a quill scratches. It's definitely judging you. Sunlight slants through high windows, gilding moth-chewed tapestries into brief regality. The hall stretches before you, a throat waiting to swallow secrets. Your boothiel grinds a dried rose petal into the tiles. Powdered red clings to your soul like a guilty heartbeat. The Hungarian nobility once dined with gold cutlery during Matthias Corvinus' reign, except on Fridays, when they pretended piety with tin. You run a thumb over the silver spoon in your pocket. Its stem bends unnaturally, a deformity masquerading as craftsmanship. Some Balkan wives believed bent utensils predicted betrayal, hence your mom hiding all spoons during those tense family reunions. Historians still argue whether the spoon conspiracy of 1526 was about treason or melted dessert forks. You're betting on both. A draft stirs the sulfur-scented air, rearranging dust into miniature landslides. The empty long tables yawn. Their surfaces gleam too bright, polished by hands that vanished before dawn. A servitor's bell tinkles down a corridor, its cheer as hollow as the hired lute players. Your spoon warms against your thigh. Last night's wine stains the tablecloth in Rorschach blots. One looks like a castle, another like a noose. The napkins, folded into swans, have begun to slump their necks, broken by humidity. Twist the spoon under a sunbeam. The bent stem casts a viper-shaped shadow. Clever. That Ottoman vizier who poisoned his brother-in-law used sunlight to detect venom in goblets. You sniff the bowl, no arsenic, just the tang of mediocre mutton stew. A door slams. A scullion scurries past, hugging a crate of turnips. His left shoelace drags, a tripping hazard masquerading as a festive ribbon. The spoon trembles as if laughing. Pocket it fast. Silver's a fickle diviner. Your reflection warps in a gilt-framed mirror. The face staring back has smudges under its eyes like charcoal apologies. Behind you, the hall stretches, devoid of guests, yet crowded with absence. Those mounted stag heads look disappointed. Tough crowd. The spoon's edge nicks your finger. A ruby bead swells. Let it fall onto the tiles. It rolls toward a crack in the mortar, disappearing like a secret down a well. Some medieval masons mixed ox blood into floor grout, believed it strengthened stone against earthquakes or emotional vulnerability. A clatter of plates erupts from the kitchens. You freeze, hand drifting toward your dagger. But it's just a kitchen boy scrubbing pots. His scrubbing brush squeaks the first bars of a folk dirge. His aprons stained with beetroot fake blood for this theater of banquets. The spoons now icy. The Habsburgs imported winter silver from the Erzgebirge mines, or veins threaded with moon rot. Miners claimed it wept when extracted. You press the metal to your temple. No tears, just a headache blooming like black lotus. 3 quick knocks echo from the west archway. Instinct sends you ducking behind a decaying drapery. It smells of mildew and liturgical incense. A housekeeper strides past, her keys jangling like a jailer's chorus. She pauses to adjust a crooked candle sconce. Her reflection in its copper backplate shows no face, just a starched cap floating above her collar. The spoon's weight feels heavier, as if filled with lederhosen regrets. You wait until her footsteps fade. Emerge. Dust motes swarm your reflection in the silver. They align into a word, Forditz, Hungarian for turn. A joke lingers on your tongue about Budapest bartenders and untranslatable verbs. Swallow it. The nearest wall panel has a hairline crack, too straight to be accidental. Press the spoon's bowl against the wood. It sticks, a magnetic whisper. The panel swings inward. Cold air exhales, a cellar's breath steeped in pickled paranoia. The stairs beyond drop into blackness. But your stolen candles in section 24, and the kitchen boys still singing off-key. The spoon tugs downward, insistent. Some claim Duke Istvan's tomb was lined with cutlery to confuse grave robbers. You're about to test that theory when a shout ricochets from the courtyard. Fire in the dovecote. Choices: descend into spoon-guided darkness or join the bucket brigade. The spoon vibrates, as impatient as your ex at a poetry reading. A maid sprints past, her pail sloshing vinegar water. Her petticoat's hem leaves wet commas on the flagstones. You pocket the spoon. Its stem reshapes against your palm, an accusatory finger. Moonlight on silver's one thing, torchlight's another. You melt into the chaos, hood raised. The spoon hums a lullaby only traitors remember. Word count: 3,500 continue. YN, the lute's first note, makes your teeth ache. A high C sharp that wasn't invited to any respectable scale. You follow the sound through a side archway, its keystone carved into a leering satyr. The minstrel perches on a decaying harpsichord bench. His fingers dance across strings, if dancing meant stomping grapes mid-panic attack. A crown submerged in frost, he croons. His vowels curl like burnt parchment edges. The melody's familiar, a Transylvanian folk tune band after the Battle of Mohawks. Habsburg soldiers apparently found it demoralizing. Can't imagine why. His eyes lock onto yours, pupils wide as poisoned wells. A Hungarian composer once wrote symphonies for catgut strings and wolf howls. This guy must studied under him. You lean against a pillar, casual as a napkin ring. The spoon in your pocket hums in discordant harmony. You're flat, you say. His grin reveals teeth filed to points. Sharp ears for a cupbearer. The lute's soundboard bears a crest, a dove impaled on a chalice. Historians still argue whether the Arpad dynasty used musicians as spies or just terrible lyricists. The minstrel's boots are caked with mud from the Danube's east bank. Smells like fish and bad decisions. He plucks a dissonant chord. 5 kings drowned seeking that icy crown. Their bones make lovely wind chimes. A joke, a threat, hard to tell when someone's tongue flicks like a lizard's. Your spoon vibrates, itching to bend into a new shape. A servant girl passes with a tray of honeyed figs. The minstrel snatches one, juice drips down his wrist. It sizzles on contact with his skin. Alchemy or cheap stage tricks. Balkan mystics claimed honey could reveal demonic possession. You make a note to steal some from the pantry later. His next verse mentions a chalice cut from glacier's breath. You've transcribed that phrase before in a margin note from Section 7's ledgers. Coincidence? The Habsburgs did gift Hungary an ice-encased goblet in 1541. It melted during a particularly tense dinner party. Diplomacy thawed faster than dessert. The minstrel's thumb bleeds where a string snapped. He licks the wound, eyes never leaving yours. Hunger makes the song sweeter, yes. Some Carpathian bards used bloodied strings to compose truth-telling ballads. Most died of infections. Poetic. Your boot grinds a fig seed into the floor. It cracks like a tiny skull. Who's paying your fee? The duke, the widow, the dog. His laugh rasps like a saw through wet timber. The frost pays. Always the frost. Behind him, a tapestry billows, depicting Saint Stephen offering his crown to well. The moth damage makes it look like he's handing it to a very judgmental sheep. The spoon's heat seeps through your trousers. You shift, fabric whispers against the pillar. Ottoman spies in the 16th century wore silk undergarments to muffle tells. Yours are regrettably linen. The minstrel tilts his head, listening to your fidgeting. They say you taste secrets in the wine you pour. His lute whines as he retunes it. Does my song bitter your palate? You shrug, channeling the ennui of a palace clerk tallying turnips. Your metaphors need work. Glacier's breath sounds like a tavern's bad mint schnapps. He stands taller than expected. His shadow stretches across the floor, elongating into something clawed. A trick of the gas lamps, or the famed devil's tuning, fork illusion from Viennese carnivals. You grip the spoon, its edge now serrated. Footsteps approach clipped, authoritative. The minstrel melts backward into a curtained alcove. His final chord lingers, crawling up your spine like a cockroach with perfect pitch. Captain of the guard marches past, breastplate polished to a murderous sheen. He glances at you. Loose rats in the pantry. Fetch a cat. Preferably one that's tone deaf, you mutter. The spoon's serrations bite your palm, a reminder. 3 slow drips of blood mark your path to the kitchens. Midnight finds you scrawling notes by a guttering candle. The minstrel's lyrics twist into acrostics, or your sleep-deprived brains inventing patterns. Crown over raven over north may be a map, or a grocery list. Under frost, you doodle a spoon. Its reflection shows a crown. A draft snuffs the flame. Darkness swallows the page. Somewhere, a lute string snaps, its echo a smirk in the gloom. The Duke crashes into your writing desk. Apricot brandy fumes rolling off him like a river fog. His signet ring gouges the wood as he steadies himself. You know that crest, the Bathory family's heraldic owl, though tonight it's missing an eye, copied too fast by a drunk engraver maybe. Peepore, he commands, slurring through 17 layers of nobility. His goblet's already full. You tip more in anyway, watch dark liquid spill over onto his lace cuff. The stain spreads like a tiny Mongol horde. He drinks wine dribbling into his beard. You know what they do to cupbearers who poison lords. His breath could kill a garrison. Skewer your toes. Roast you over duck fat. You offer. He blinks, confusion sobering him for half a heartbeat. Exactly. Another gulp. But I'd never let M. We're friends, brothers. His arm slings around your neck, sweat and ambergris musk. Historians still argue whether Elizabeth Bathory bathed in virgin blood. But her cousin here clearly bathes in poor decisions. His whisper clangs in your ear. The Austrian got a map, tattooed on a goat. Burn it. A hiccup rattles his ribs. Burn it, or we all die screaming in Magyar. You scribble his words, quill scraping parchment. The ink bubbles into viscous black blobs. Looks like the time you tried making squid ink risotto. Apricot brandy production peaked after the Ottoman siege of 1526. They needed something to disinfect wounds. This batch could strip varnish. His palm slams your notes. Valberg of Hesse came here in horse year. Demanded our wheat, our women. But we showed him. The Duke's thumb swipes through fresh ink, leaving a snail trail of secrets. Tied him naked to a bear, great sport, till the bear converted to Lutheranism. A droplet of brandy hits the page. The ink writhes away from it. Medieval scribes sometimes used fermented oak galls for black pigment. This ink acts like it's still allergic to alcohol. You're not writing, he bellows. Spittle arcs onto your sleeve. It sizzles faintly. Alchemists once claimed Hungarian nobles had venomous saliva. Modern scholars blame sulfuric diets. You blame bad luck. Every word, my lord. You dot an I, the dot quivers and rolls off the parchment. It plinks into your inkwell with a metallic ping. Odd. His bloodshot eyes narrow. Swear on St. Stephen's crown. I'd rather swear on something intact. Heard it's missing 3 gems and a dignity. The Duke laughs, a wet, tubercular sound. Good man. Loyal man. He fumbles with his belt, drops a purse heavy with silver thalers. For your discretion. And better quills. Yours skips like a scent-stoned crow. You pocket the coins. One bears Matthias Corvinus's profile. If he'd been punched mid-mint, could buy a decent horse. Or a lifetime of apricots. His confession devolves into genealogy, 3rd cousins twice removed. A lawsuit over a lynx pelt. Something involving a cardinal's missing toe. You transcribe it, all the ink coagulating into tear-shaped blots. They shimmer under candlelight, oily rainbows swirling like a pigeon's neck. Byzantine chemists reportedly made indestructible ink from crushed scarabs and mercury. This batch looks ready to crawl off the page. The Duke pauses, nose hovering inches from the parchment. Is this Hungarian? Your words, my script. Looks like a spider shat alphabet soup. He reaches to crumple the sheet. You slide it away, just as he vomits explosively into a Ming Dynasty vase. Silence settles, broken by retching echoes. You study the warped ink. The blobs align into a sequence, maybe cuneiform, or a drunkard's stumble charted in hieroglyphs. He wipes his mouth, smeared lip poker blending with brandy. Burn that, he rasps. Burn it all. They'll cut our tongues out for less. The fire's down to embers, glowing like a witch's bruises. You toss in a log. Who's they, my lord? His laugh lacks its earlier bravado. The ones who make dogs bark backward. The ones who drink shadows. He lurches upright, tries to unbutton his doublet. Fails. Give me till dawn. I'll pay double, triple. The purse in your pocket clinks as you stand. You already paid me 7 minutes ago. Fine negotiator. Knew I liked you. He topples backward, crushing an upholstered footstool. Snoring begins before impact. You tiptoe past. His chamber reeks of disaster and cloves. In the corridor, moonlight stripes the stones. The parchment feels alive in your hand, ink blots migrating toward the edges. A droplet escapes, hits the floor with a hiss. The flagstone pocks like rotting fruit. Somewhere below, a dog howls. It does not bark backward. Small mercies, back in your alcove. The inks formed new patterns, dots connected into constellations. Ursa Major, if the bear wore a crown. Habsburg ambassadors often hid messages in star charts during the Reformation. They also poisoned 3 popes. Accidentally, if you believe their cookbooks. The Duke's silver heats in your pocket. You lay a coin on the parchment. It levitates briefly. St. Stephen's face smiles up at you upside down. Dawn creeps in gray and apologetic. The ink dries at last. The final word, betrayal, has grown thorns. They prick your thumb. Blood beads, black as the tears you've captured. You blow out the candle. The spoon in your other pocket hums a new vibration. Low C this time, perfect for dirges or breakfast. The throne hall's double doors groan iron hinges, protesting like rusty lungs. You step inside. The air tastes of wet fur and burnt honey. Floor mosaics twist underfoot, shattered tiles forming a one-eyed wolf. That's new. Ancient Magyar kings supposedly kept wolfhounds as living thrones. But this feels less regal, more feral. A shape blocks the dais, a dog the size of a wine cart. Its fur gleams matte black, swallowing torchlight. No breath stirs its ribs. Could be taxidermy. Could be worse. Historians still argue whether Matthias Corvinus bred war dogs to carry Greek fire in their jaws. This one looks like it swallowed a forge. Your boot scuffs stone, the head swivels. No sound, just twin pupils dilating, violet irises you've only seen in Byzantine mosaics. Funny thing, real dogs didn't develop purple eyes until a 1980s lab experiment. This mongrel's no labradoodle. It growls, a sub-bass rumble that knocks your molars loose. The walls shimmy. Somewhere, a chandelier tinkles like a drunkard's toast. You freeze, hand drifting toward the bent silver spoon. It hums a discordant E-flat against your thigh. Easy, you murmur, voice cracking like kindling, just returning a duke's regurgitated secrets. The hound's lips peel back, teeth glint with oily rainbows. Renaissance watchdogs were sometimes given mercury-laced meat to make their bites infectious. This grin could give the plague second thoughts. Collar glints, thick iron etched with runes. You squint. Istvan, same as your great-great-uncle who vanished during the 1672 Kuruk uprising. Coincidence tastes worse than the Duke's brandy. The dog growls louder, each vibration matching your pulse. You retreat, one heel meets nothing. Glance back. The tiles yawn into a fresh chasm. Ottoman sappers mined Buda Castle with vertical tunnels called hellmouths. This one exhales the scent of pickled plums and despair. The hound stands, muscles sliding beneath pelt like swords in silk. Ribbons of drool hit the floor, etching pocks in the limestone. 17th century alchemists used dog saliva to test for lies. Supposedly, it'd boil if touching a false oath. Yours might dissolve the whole castle. Its nose thrusts forward, snuffling your ink-stained hand. The Duke's confession parchment crackles in your sleeve. A droplet of living ink oozes free. The hound licks it midair. Silence. Then it sneezes. Violently. Black mucus sprays your boots. The prints sizzle. Bless why teeth snap where your wrist just was. You vault sideways, crashing into the throne. The seat's velvet padding crumbles like centuries-old cake. A hidden compartment clicks open. Inside, A child's doll with your face stitched in moleskin. Its button eyes drip amber resin. You pocket it. Priorities. The hound circles, claws scoring grooves in marble. Its collar's inscription catches fire without burning. You read the glowing words, Kaimalto, Old Hungarian for who is worthy. Last time that phrase mattered, they were electing a king who died from a falling pig. The spoon vibrates hotter. You whip it out, it levitates, pointing at the throne. The hound hesitates. A trickle of mercury, droplets pearls along the spoon's curve. Medieval physicians believed quicksilver could tame demons. Modern physicians believe in malpractice insurance. You flick a droplet at the beast. It strikes a paw. The fur retracts like burnt thread. The hound whimpers, then bows. Its forehead touches the dais. The throne shudders, stone creaking into a new shape. Armrests become jaws. The backrest sprouts vertebrae. A low howl shakes dust from the rafters. The hound's withering, fur falling in ash clumps. Beneath lies human skin. Your skin, a mirrored nightmare of calluses and ink stains. The spoon melts, liquid silver puddles between cobblestones. Your reflection grins up, mouthing words you can't hear. Habsburg spies supposedly trained ravens to mimic their enemies' voices. This feels more personal. The knot hound extends a hand, your hand. It points to the doll in your pocket. Amber resin bleeds through the fabric, forming a sticky puddle shaped like the crown of St. Stephen. History remembers that crown's missing cross. You're more worried about the crown-sized hole in your sanity. A bell tolls distant, yet inside your skull, the creature dissolves into a sandstorm of ashes and hissed vowels. The throne resets, good as new, mostly. If you ignore the teeth marks, you exhale. The parchment in your sleeve whispers something vulgar in Latin. Slinging dignity aside, you sprint for the exit past the chasm, the wolf mosaic, the lingering stench of pickled lies. The corridor's empty. Safe. Ish. You check the doll. Its mouth now holds a mercury-coated fang, perfect for opening wine bottles or veins. From the throne hall, a final growled phrase echoes, Malto vegi, worthy. You'd rather be called late for dinner. The corridor bends, its walls sweating a mineral stench that clings to your teeth. You follow crooked sconces, shaped like skeletal hands, their flames guttering in time with your steps. Everyone knows Matthias Corvinus hired court astrologers to time military campaigns. But his troops still got frostbite crossing the Carpathians. Stars make lousy generals. A door hangs ajar, charred wood warped into a permanent scream. Inside, star charts paper the floor like a madman's jigsaw. Constellations have been redrawn in what smells like fermented beet juice. The Big Dipper's now the hanged jester. Ominous. She sits at the epicenter, a woman carved from candle wax and insomnia. Her left hand clutches a sextant. Her right spins a child's top that hums Gregorian chants. Renaissance nobles used spinning tops to commune with planetary spirits. This one's carving a groove through solid oak. "You're late," she rasps. The top leaps into her sleeve, still whirring. The moon's in retrograde, the ceilings. A tile crashes between you, shattering into shards that bloom like mercury lilies. You glance up. The vaulted ceilings split like a rotten melon, exposing a mockery of night sky. Wrong stars, wrong colors. The Milky Way resembles a cracked ribcage. She thrusts a spyglass at you, its lens glazed with honey. Look before the lie repeats. You peer through, the cosmos swims into focus. A lion-shaped constellation devours a smeared sun. Tycho Brahe, that noseless astronomer, once claimed eclipses revealed God's hangnails. This looks more like divine indigestion. But where the lion's eclipse, she hisses. Her pupils swell, swallowing the room in twin black tides. You've read about a 1577 comet that made Hungarian hens lay square eggs. Her eyes hold that same crackling wrongness. A chart flutters against your ankle, its edges nibbled by silverfish. The margins crawl with notes. 1683, stars fall. 1703, stars scream. 2024, stars shrug. Quill strokes deepen into stab marks. Astrology's the original conspiracy theory, except occasionally right. She snatches the parchment. They're coming for the cupbearers. Always the cupbearers. Her breath smells of burnt time and internet forum desperation. 3 monarchs rose during lion eclipses, all strangled by their own gloves. Coincidence? Yes, you say, politely. Her laugh cracks a wineglass on the desk. Charles VI's coronation globe, filled with dried nephris beetle shells. They vibrate during celestial events. Still do. She kicks a trunk open, an amber orb rolls out, buzzing like a deranged fridge. You retreat, stepping on a star named Melancholy's left nostril. 16th century star maps showed these weird labels. Historians still argue whether they were metaphors or literal drunken bets. The astrologer grabs your wrist. Her fingernails carve half-moons into your pulse. The spoon. Give it. You hesitate. The melted silver relic weighs heavy, a blob now resembling a deflated lung. She hisses and snatches it, presses it against the amber globe. Lightning forks across the room, no thunder. Just the reek of singed wool. The globe's surface churns, showing a castle under a green sun. Vienna's skyline. But the streets writhe with liquid shadows that peel off buildings like banana skins. Your future, she croons, unless the vision shifts. You see yourself guzzling wine in a neon-lit bunker. A tick-tock filter overlays your face with St. Stephen's crown. Historians still argue whether he died from apricot poisoning or bad umbrella luck. Neither explains the laser raptors. The globe implodes, showering you with sticky resin. The astrologer wails, daubs her face with the remains. Fools. The stars don't guide, they judge. She licks a golden shard. Her tongue splits into 4 writhing tips. Medieval physicians prescribed powdered comet tails for gout. You're starting to see why their patients died screaming. Her form blurs, edges vibrating like a tune played too fast. Find the sundial's missing tooth, bury it where the raven drowns. She disintegrates into a swarm of compass needles, their points spelling run in Morse code. You obey. The corridor stretches, walls bending like warm taffy. That spoon was trash anyway. You've still got the Mercury Fanged doll. And a new appreciation for careers in accounting. Behind you, the ceiling's false stars wink out. One, by none. The grand hall swallows you whole. Its vaulted ceiling drips molten wax chandeliers. Guests swirl in silver masks, their cheekbones sharp enough to draw blood. 17th century Venetian masquerades outlawed unmasking after sunset. But here, the masks seem grafted to flesh. A violinist saws a discordant tune, strings fraying like unspooled nerves. You grab a goblet, its stem bends under your grip. The wine tastes of rosemary and regret. Tudor feasts used rosemary sprigs to ward off plague. This vintage does nothing for existential dread. A woman's laugh cuts through the din, a sound like ice down your spine. Her mask sprouts clockwork feathers that shiver with each step. Renaissance engineers crafted singing brass nightingales. This contraption reeks of taxidermied ambition. She offers a fig glazed in honey, and something moving beneath its skin. To absent friends, she toasts. Her voice grates through a filter of grinding gears. Nobles raise their cups. 1,000 distorted reflections warp in their masks. You sip. The fig bursts. Its seeds click against your teeth like tiny dice. Across the room, a man adjusts his cuff. His wrist flashes, a jagged scar slicing from thumb to elbow. Istvan's scar, the stable boy who vanished last winter with 3 mares, and the Archduke's pet raven. Historians still argue whether Hungarian horse thieves ritually branded themselves, or just had terrible sword instructors. You drift closer, stepping on rose petals that crunch like beetle shells. His mask tilts, a sliver of stubble visible beneath polished silver. Napoleon supposedly wore pineapple perfume to mask body odor. This man smells of wet ashes and desperation. The sundial's tooth, he mutters, voice scrambled by his mask's copper vocal reed. Bury it where the raven drowns. His breath fogs the metal, briefly revealing etchings beneath. A map, a warning, a grocery list. The violinist's E-string snaps, a whip crack silencing the room. Guests pivot in unison, masks clicking like rifle safeties, disengaging. You pocket a loose gear from the woman's shedding plumage. It hums against your thigh, a C-sharp vibration. A server thrusts a tray at you, its contents wobble. Gray gelatin stamped with the royal crest. Medieval aspic often contained live goldfish for ambience. This quivers like a brain in brine. You decline. The server's mask cracks, a spider leg probing through the fissure. Istvan, or his ghost, grips your elbow. They know you have the doll. His masked mouth grazes your ear. Feed it mercury at moonrise. Then, fireworks erupt in the courtyard, green flares that paint the hall in witchlight. Guests cheer a sound like shattering chapel windows. Baroque pyrotechnicians once stuffed rockets with powdered ruby for crimson sparks. These flames leave afterimages of hooked talons. You slip through a servant's door straight into a pantry reeking of pickled failure. Jars line shelves, their contents pulse. One holds a hand floating in ambergris. Another, a flock of preserved sparrows mid-flight. Prince Eugene stored Ottoman war trophies in honey, but this feels less historical, more deranged. The door slams. A masked figure blocks your exit, their silver face smooth as an egg. They extend a palm. 7 mercury droplets roll across it, spelling liar in shaky Cyrillic. Habsburg spies used mercury cipher discs until the poison kicked in. A bell tolls. The figure convulses, mercury absorbing into their skin. They collapse, mask clattering to reveal nothing. Just a hollow shell veined with quicksilver. You step over them. Their chest cavity buzzes like a dying hive. The hall's laughter swells anew. You weave through dancers, their masks now fused in permanent grins. A man whispers a joke about turnips and treason. Your forced chuckle gets lost in the din. The scarred wrist grabs you again, drags you behind a tapestry depicting St. Stephen's diarrhea-ridden demise. Istvan rips off his mask. His face sags, no melts, waxen flesh pooling at his collar. Find the sundial. Now he presses a key into your palm, its bow shaped like a raven's skull. Before they mourn us with empty coffins, his liquefied face solidifies, mask clicking back into place. He vanishes into a waltz. S-T-E-P, S Chinese letter, 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 his letter, Chinese 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 letter, sundial materializes where the corridor ends, its fractured stone steaming in moonlight. Renaissance gardens favored sundials with Ottoman inscriptions. This one bears claw marks instead of numerals. Your shadow stretches toward it, a liquid smear across the eroded face. 17 is the number of cracks radiating from its center. 17 is also how many steps you take before your boots sink into mercury-slick moss. The key's raven's skull glows blue-white. It fits a rusted slot beneath the dial's gnomon, or would, if the shadow weren't already midnight thick. Tudor clockmakers anchored sundials in mercury pools for stability. Here, the quicksilver writhes, forming shapes that might be fingers or roots. The doll stirs in your pocket. You learned in Prague what happens when cursed toys get hungry. Its porcelain fangs graze your thigh, a reminder it craves moon-fed poison. Mercury was once prescribed for melancholy and killed more courtiers than the Black Death. You spill 3 drops onto its tongue. Too much. The doll coughs, a sound like coins in a grinder. Its jaw unhinges, disgorging a keyhole-shaped scale. Around you, shadows fracture into 17 distinct pools. Each reflects a starless sky. The sundial groans. Its bronze gnomon twists counterclockwise, shearing off stone flakes. A hidden compartment exhales mold and bergamot. Inside, a lead vial, a mouse carcass wearing a pearl necklace, and a letter sewn shut with hair. You tear the stitching. The parchment whispers as it unfolds, ink so fresh it stains your thumbs. Oddly specific curse. Its contents: 87 barrels of Albanian gunpowder, 3 trained ravens, debeaked 1 Spanish dwarf guilty of heresy, a procurement list for Matthias Corvinus' coronation. Historians still argue whether Renaissance courts really kept entertainment dwarves or just had terrible HR policies. The doll tugs your sleeve. It points its chipped finger westward, where moonlight hits a patch of mercury. The pool ripples, revealing stone steps descending into earth. 16th century wine cellars often doubled as panic rooms. This staircase doubles as a throat. You descend. Walls throb their veins, pumping slow ichor. The temperature plummets. 17 steps down. A bronze door blocks your path. Its handle, a raven's talon clutching a human eyeball. Habsburg torture devices were artisanal, but this feels personal. The key clicks. The door swings inward, dragging its bottom edge through mercury. Beyond, an ossuary lit by foxfire. Skulls line niches, each cranium bearing a mercury-filled hourglass in its eye socket. Medieval timekeeping meets post-mortem absurdity. One skull's teeth chatter, its jaw working through a silent scream. A sundial fragment glows atop a femur altar. You reach, the doll bites your wrist. Too late. Mercury surges up your arm, mapping veins with liquid ice. Versailles had a fountain that spouted quicksilver until the ducts dissolved. Your fingers crystallize, joints locking into glassy claws. The doll leaps onto the altar shrieking cuneiform obscenities. The fragment burns hotter. When you grip it, skin sizzles. Medieval healers treated burns with mashed earthworms you'd kill for a spoonful right now. Cracks spread through the mercury in your blood, an ice flow breaking apart. The sundial shard slices your palm. Instead of blood, mercury weeps out. It hits the floor, each droplet chiming A minor. Baroque composers tuned harpsichords with mercury-weighted keys. But this melody's all teeth and spite. Above you, the ossuary ceiling peels away, revealing the palace courtyard. 100 silver-masked figures encircle the broken sundial. Their chant vibrates your mercurial bones. They're reenacting the mass of Saint Quicksilver. The doll hisses, voice warped by poison. When it ends, the chanting stops. Your mercury blood ignites. Flames taste of tin and regret. They scorch a path back to your heart, a forced detox. Renaissance alchemists died this way, chasing immortality through liquid metal. When vision returns, you're kneeling in dry grass. The sundial lies in pieces, its shadow creeping toward a well. The doll's teeth are embedded in your forearm, a grisly bracelet. Somewhere, a stable boy's ghost laughs. The palace windows darken one by one. Dawn licks the horizon. You pocket a shard of stone, still warm, as the first bird of morning chokes on its own song. Steam wraps around you like a broth-scented shroud. The kitchens sprawl beneath vaulted arches. Cauldrons bubble over hearths wide as marriage beds. A man stirs the nearest pot with a cavalry saber, blade glinting, wrist flicking. Every swirl ripples the surface into screaming faces. 17th century Hungarians loved marrow stew. Nobles believed it thickened the blood against Ottoman steel. This broth smells different, richer. Wrong. Feast well, the cook sighs. A pearl replaces his left incisor. It winks as he speaks. Venetian nobles once wore pearl dentures to mock the bankrupt. But this gleam feels hungry. His saber scrapes the cauldron's belly, a metallic whine that puckers your teeth. Shadows congeal on the stew's surface. For a heartbeat, it mirrors the ossuary's mercury pools. Then the vision curdles. The cook ladles a portion into a chipped tureen. Eat, he insists. The dead can't taste it. The spoon he offers bends in your grip, silver gone rubbery. Habsburg servants smuggled bendable cutlery to cheat tax assessors. But this twist feels alive. You dip the spoon. The stew parts, revealing a fingertip bone marbled with fat. The cook's laugh rasps like a whetstone. Venison, he says, too quickly. 3 rats watch from a spice rack. Their eyes shine with human intelligence. Or hunger. One sniffs a jar labeled cardamom. Its contents squirm against the glass. Prague's alchemists kept jarred homunculi as pantry guardians. But these look newer. Outside, dawn scratches at grime-caked windows. The cook tenses, saber hovering over the cauldron. Sunlight hits the pearl in his teeth. It flares neon green. Moldavian folklore claims pearls turn venomous when force-fed to prisoners. But sunlight wasn't part of the recipe. The bone in your spoon vibrates. You let it fall, it clatters in A minor. Same cursed note as the mercury droplets. The cook flinches. Horse ribs sing sometimes, he mutters. Pay it no mind. His sleeve rides up, revealing rope burns. Historians still argue whether royal chefs doubled as executioners or just knew too many recipes for hemlock. You glance at the tureen. The broth's surface stills, reflecting your face. No, not yours. Matthias Corvinus scowls up at you, his lips moving in a silent decree. The cook slams the ladle down. Broth slops onto the hearth, sizzling into a language of angry vowels. Out, he growls. The pearl darkens to bruise purple before it cools. You pocket the bent spoon. Its bowl sticks to your palm, leaving a brand. 2 crossed quills. Transylvanian spies used heat-marked cutlery to identify allies. But that guild dissolved in blood centuries ago. The rats scatter as you exit. Their squeaks form a ragged melody, the same waltz the bloodied dancer performed. The cook's voice follows you into the hall. Tell the cupbearer, a wet cough. Tell her the teeth are mine now. Behind you, the cauldron belches, a sound halfway between a sob and a chuckle. You don't look back. Dawn's light slices through corridor dust, but your shadow still clots like congealing broth. You duck into a narrow chamber, its walls lined with dried herbs and rusted lancets. A cedar chest dominates the room, its lock carved with twin serpents. Historians love debating Mercury's role in olden medicine, calling it cure or slow murder. The physician hunches over the chest, his trembling fingers blotched with violet stains. Liquid starlight, he whispers. Each vial glows faintly, like moonlight trapped in glass. 14th century quacks sold crushed pearl elixirs, claiming to mend broken hearts. But these vials hum with darker promises. One slips from his grip. Its shatter paints a smoking crater in the floor. Don't breathe the fumes. His warning comes too late. Your tongue tastes burnt honey. Visions swarm like angry hornets. Scholars still argue if Nostradamus stored comet dust in goat bladders. But this acrid stench suggests worse. The physician scrabbles at his cloak, pockets bulging with leech jars. One bursts, slimy black bodies wriggle toward the spill. They dissolve mid-crawl, becoming ash sculptures of screaming men. The king's decree, he croaks, 12 drops in his wine each dusk. You spot a ledger under the chest. Its open page diagrams a human heart, labeled in Latin, and what looks like child's doodles. The physician slams it shut, his cheek twitches, where a vein pulses sapphire blue. Forget what you saw, he hisses, or they'll bottle your nightmares next. A draft lifts the ledger's edge, revealing a single sketched eye, identical to the one on the bent spoon. The physician kicks the chest. Vials clink like a chandelier in quake. Go, he pleads, before it learns your scent. You pocket a fallen vial. It frosts your fingers numb, the glass etching itself as breath stealer in Cyrillic. Moldovan poisoners favored such titles, though this feels less poetic and more pleading. As you retreat, the physician murmurs arithmetic, counting backward from 100 in fractured Greek. At 73, his voice hitches, as if the numbers themselves were knives. The liquid smoke curls into a hooked finger, beckoning you deeper into the hall's throat. Your shadow stretches unnaturally, its edges bubbling like the cauldron's broth. Some secrets ferment, others crystallize. This one does both, and it's learning your name. Your shadow's bubbling edge snags on a protruding flagstone, dragging you toward a half-open cabinet. Blueprints spill across the floor, their curling corners weighted with tarnished drafting tools. You recognize Matthias Corvinus's emblem, the raven with a ring. Hungarian kings loved their avian bling, never guessing future historians would use it to date moldy parchment. A sketch flutters against your boot, hidden corridors snaking beneath the hall. Each door sports an upside-down cross, the exact symbol you saw above the cellar grate. Medieval builders sometimes inverted symbols for protection, though modern ghost hunters blame it on dyslexic stonecutters. Your thumb brushes a notation. Knights'll shoot, repurposed, 1487. Nobody wants to think about royal poop slides, but history's built on worse foundations. The farthest blueprint tears as you lift it, revealing a frantic scribble beneath. A stick figure sprints from an inky blotch, its face erased to a smudge. Architects' drafts often hid self-portraits, but this one flees its own creation. The walls around it bleed off the page, edges dissolving into spider leg lines. Cold drafts whisper through the chamber. You follow them to a tapestry dangling askew, its threads depicting saints being pleasantly nibbled by deer. Behind it, a door no taller than your ribs, the locks missing, replaced by a wax seal imprinted with teeth. Biting security systems predate keycards by centuries, though dental records weren't part of the package. The door creaks inward, revealing steps spiraling into pitch. A flicker catches your eye. The vial from the physician glows dull green. Liquid nightlight or biohazard warning. You pocket it anyway. First rule of creepy exploration: never refuse ambiguous glow sticks. 53 steps down. The air smells of wet flint and locker room socks. Your boot sinks into something sticky. Moonlight seeping through a grate above reveals glitter. Medieval mortar sometimes mixed animal blood, but historians still argue whether they added mica for sparkle. Tonight's answer: definitely. And it's still tacky after 6 centuries. The corridor narrows, walls close enough to graze both shoulders. Carved names populate the stone Janos, Istvan, Gizela, each crossed out by a single nail scratch. Apprentice masons marking their work, or prisoners tallying days. The scratch marks deepen as you walk, until they gape like hungry mouths. A draft carries voices, or maybe the buzz of 1,000 flies. You turn a corner and freeze. The inverted cross looms ahead, etched across a rusted iron door. Touch it, and your palm comes away dusted with reddish powder. Cinnabar pigment, same as scribes used for judgment scenes. Toxicity level will kill you faster than the plague. The vial burns through your coat lining. You uncork it. Fumes coil into a miniature storm cloud. Lightning flickers inside, illuminating symbols on the door's edge. The same crudely drawn figure from the blueprint, still running, still faceless, still screaming. Something groans above. Dust rains from the ceiling, clumping in your hair like gray sugar. The hall's restructuring itself, or maybe collapsing. Scholarly debate rarely covers sentient architecture, but your kneecaps vote for evacuation. The door shudders. A crack splits the cinnabar cross, spilling black liquid that hisses like 1,000 scorned cats. Time to apply 15th century problem solving. Strategic retreat. You sprint back, past the glitter mortar and name-scarred walls. The vial's glow dies, plunging you into blindness as steps vanish underfoot. Your shin meets stone pane detonating like a faulty firework. Behind the liquid's hiss, crescendos into a wet roar. Historians love pondering vanished construction techniques, but none mention halls that actively hunt visitors. You claw up the steps, finding the dwarf door slammed shut. 3 kicks, it splinters. The tapestries dear now have glowing red eyes and significantly sharper teeth. You dive through, rolling into the cabinet's shadow as the door explodes inward. Oily liquid slithers across the floor, avoiding the moonlit patches. Sunlight's a vampire. This gunk's a night owl. The blueprints are gone. Only one scrap remains. The fleeing figure now has your face smudged onto its stick body. Architects didn't usually predict clientele unless they moonlighted as psychic nuisances. A bell tolls in some distant tower. Your pocket grows heavy, the vials now full of churning smoke. It pulses once, twice, synchronizing with the fading footsteps above. Liquid starlight, my ass. This is a bottled bad decision. Dawn seeps through high windows. Somewhere, a king sips his mercury-laced wine. Somewhere, a physician chokes on Greek numbers. And somewhere beneath your boots, a sketchy little drawing starts its next draft. The vial's pulse fades as dawn licks the eastern windows. Your boots crunch through frost-stiffened grass toward the garden's wrought iron gate. Black roses coil around its bars, velvet petals trembling in the wind. They crumble as you approach, dissolving into ash that smells of burnt sugar and regret. 17th century Hungarian nobility adored rare blooms. King Matthias once traded 6 war horses for a single Damascus rosebush. These, not topiary showpieces. These are funeral flowers that missed their cue. You kneel beside a freshly turned plot, earth still steaming in the cold. Fingers brush a seed half buried in the soil. It shudders, a moth fighting its cocoon. Medieval herbalists whispered of waking seeds that dreamed underground, though modern botanists blame carbon dioxide buildup. Tell that to the dirt quivering under your palm. The gardener materializes like a patch of misplaced shadow, her apron stained with chlorophyll and something darker. She drops another seed. It writhes before burrowing downward. They crave company. She murmurs, a Balkan accent fraying her vowels. Her shears glint, one blade snapped off at the hilt. A glove slips from your pocket as you stand. She pounces on it, tucking the leather into her bodice. The soil hungers for skin, she explains, knuckles brushing a rose stem. The plant recoils, then lunges, thorns ripping her sleeve. Underneath, scars bloom in cursive patterns. You've read about this. Witch trials, confessions carved into flesh. She catches your stare. Words grow best when rooted in pain. Her laugh rasps, a shovel dragged over gravel. My husband tended the Constance roses until they twined through his ribs. Historians still argue whether the black garden of Buda was metaphor or mulch. The widow's missing ring finger suggests, not metaphor. Wind gusts, ash swirls into a miniature tornado. Within it, a face forms. Yours. The gardener snorts. They imitate what they crave. Like mirrors with thorns, she yanks up a root. It weeps milky sap. Plague doctors used this for pestilence balm. Mix it with mercury and hubris. A seed pod bursts at your feet, releasing downy spores. They cling to your coat, vibrating like tuning forks. Your bones hum in response. Don't fret, she says, snipping a rosebud that screams like a throttled songbird. They'll nest in your eaves, bloom into something useful by Michaelmas. You pocket a shriveled seed. It squirms against your thigh. The gardener freezes. That one's not for taking. Her shears quiver, then droop. No matter. It'll return when you burn. Behind her, the roses sway into a new configuration. An arched door, a strangled vow, a crown of stems. Church bells shudder the air. The gardener melts into her hedges, a sigh trailing behind. Tell the architect, his brother's thorns still guard the cistern. Dawn bleeds across the sky, your stolen seed now dormant. For now, somewhere, a physician adjusts his star charts. Somewhere, a stable boy mucks out phantom hoofbeats, and in your clenched fist, a heartbeat pulses where no heart should be. The jade hair weighs heavy in your palm, its fur carved with glacial precision. Each tooth glistens, too white, too moist. Human molars ground to fit rodent jaws. Ottoman sultans once gifted King Matthias clockwork, lions that roared with a clockmaker's last breath. But this feels like a threat with receipts. The ambassador materializes beside a moth-eaten tapestry, his fingers pleating the air, a trinket from Transylvania. He lies, his Hungarian vowels clipped by a Saxon bite. 16th century envoys hid poison in ruby clasps. This man's ancestors perfected it. His left eyelid flutters, a broken shutter. Best admire it by firelight, he adds, too casual. You thumb the hair's frozen spine. A molar clicks loose, rolls across the floorboards. It stops at the boot of a passing page. The boy pales, flees without his tray of almond sweets. The ambassador hisses through clenched teeth, actual human ones, you note. In your quarters, candlelight deepens, the hair's emerald veins. Pest's bridge once glittered with jade, smuggled from Ming traders. Nobles wore it to signal unpayable debts. This creature's eyes follow you, cataracted pearls flickering, with trapped candle flame. A scrap of vellum nestles under its paw burn before midnight in spidery ink. The hearth yawns, embers lick at last night's seed pod. You toss the hair into the flames. It shrieks, a sound like steam escaping a coffin. Smoke coils into a fist, middle finger raised. The ambassador's laughter seeps through the wall, then chokes into silence. Morning reveals a puddle of slag, still warm. Stirring it with a dagger unleashes a stench, burnt hair and myrrh. Siege records from 1541 mention Turkish sappers tunneling beneath Buda, their bones pulverized into siege gunpowder. Histories, a compost heap, everything rots twice. Under the slag, an intact molar winks up. You pocket it, let the ambassador's dentist wonder. Somewhere, a gardener hums to her shivering seeds. Somewhere, the smoke fist hovers above a well, dissolving in the rain. And deep in your pocket, the tooth grows warm, humming a lullaby from Burgundian mining towns. The cloak hangs in your wardrobe, twilight fur rippling like oil on water. You found it last night, no note, no bill. Renaissance tailors stitched ermine collars to line royal cloaks, and poisoned hems to line royal graves. This thing feels alive. It seems breathing against your fingertips. 3 steps toward the mirror the collar constricts. Calm down, you mutter to yourself, or the garment. Needles spring from the wall dagger sharp and gleaming. They hover tip first. Someone's upgraded medieval pincushions to artillery. A scratch at the door. The court tailor stands hunched. His thimble glows, molten silver dripping onto the rug. You've put it on, he rasps. Bella Ii's coronation robe took 42 peacock-eyed nuns 6 years to weave. This lunatic works solo. His shears dangle on a chain. The blades whisper against your sleeve. The cloak cinches tighter. 12th century Persians wove with metallic threads. He croons, shoving a needle through his palm. No blood. But this is newer silk. You catch your reflection. 100 pinpricks bloom across your neck. They form Ursa Major -1 star. His laughter smells of burnt linen. Medievals thought clothes stolen by black cats became cursed trousseaux. Suddenly, that feels less funny. The needles plunge, piercing your clavicle. Cold spreads, the kind that numbs before it kills. You gag a tasting copper and anise. He rips the cloak off. His fingers tremble, stained indigo. They made me sew it, he hisses. Ruined 3 centuries of lineage. Historians still argue whether the Parta Embroiderers Guild encoded heresies in their stitch patterns. This guy's a walking ad for their guilt. The needles retreat, clicking like disapproving teeth. A slip of velvet flutters down. Wear it at the masquerade, inked in something that isn't ink. Outside, thunder growls. The tailor vomits a skein of golden thread. It writhes toward the cloak. You step back. Rakoczy rebels used silk banners to smuggle gunpowder. This feels riskier. The cloak billows, emptying itself of shadows. It's lighter now, warmer. The tailor collapses his body, unraveling into a tangle of measuring tape. The spool rolls under your bed. You debate kicking it, then remember whose taxes pay you. Dawn stains the window. The cloak drapes your shoulders docile as a sleeping fox. Needles gleam in its folds, waiting. Somewhere, a palace clock chimes 7. Somewhere, your left thumb starts stitching a constellation into the air. You let it. Your thumb traces Ursa Major's missing star. The air ripples where it should be. Muddy boot prints lead to the stables, each horseshoe imprint filled with brine. You follow, because unpaid curiosity builds character, and possibly coffins. Empty stalls yawn, rotten hay heaped, where Andalusians once slept. Totters raced these steeds during Bela Iv's reign, though they preferred pillaging to pedigree. A hoofbeat shivers the rafters, no horse in sight. The stable boy crouches by a trough, his nails caked with salt and something pearlescent. They ride westward, he hisses. His left ear's missing, the scar gleams like wet clay. You glance at the stalls. Invisible horses. Worse, he spits. A snail shell clinks against stone. Unridden ones. Moldavite-studded bridles hang above, each gem darker than a banker's conscience. One drips, something viscous. You touch it, the drop dodges your finger. Saints preserve us, saints are busy, the boy snaps. They're hauling salt from Edgar's mines, or what's left of them. You blink. Hungary's salt trade built castles, but this reeks of older debts. His boot grinds the snail shell. Legends say Matthias Corvinus buried a salt clock under Buda, tick-tocking till the kingdom crumbles. A draught carries the tang of pickled herring and panic. Hoofbeats crescendo. The stable boy shoves you against a post. Count the shadows. 12 stallion silhouettes gallop past, saddles empty, monets aflame. Their breath frosts the air in odd symbols, possibly Nordic runes or a drunkard's doodles. He presses a horseshoe into your palm, still warm. Ottoman farriers forged these during sieges. They'd hammer nails backward to lame Christian mounts. The metal throbs, its crescent moon brand now pulsing. Historians still argue whether Suleiman's stallions could outrace the plague. Tonight, you're betting on the horses. Salt water seeps through your sleeve. The boy's eyes widen. He's staring at your stitching thumb. You've met the tailor. It isn't a question. A shadow horse whinnies, the sound syrup-thick and mournful. You pocket the horseshoe. Where west? Camarno. He kicks a blackened carrot. Or hell. Depends who's mapping. His laughter smells of sour milk and pistol smoke. You recall Nagicanis's salt riots, peasants trading silver spoons for a palmful of grit. This mud's too rich for peasants. A horn blares, the boy vanishes. The hoofbeats fade, but the salt remains. You lick a grain, it burns like censer ash. Somewhere, a duke's daughter marries a salt baron. Somewhere, a shadow horse falters mid-gallop. Your thumb stitches faster, completing the constellation with a star made of rust. Your stitching thumb twitches, as if tugging an invisible thread toward the scullery staircase. Moonlight slants through a cracked oculus, revealing a figure in mourning crepe. The widow Zappalia clutches a compact, its silver casing tarnished to the color of guilt. She beckons, manicured nails catching the light like scalpel blades. Renaissance mirrors once cost more than battle horses. Your reflection's rat's nest hair would have bankrupted a Medici. The compact clicks open, and there they are, 17, no, 19 faceless shapes crowding the glass behind your shoulders. You spin around. Empty air. A parlor trick, you mutter. Her laugh rasps like a whetstone. Venetian glassblowers added urine to their mixtures for luminosity. The mirror's surface ripples. Those shadow people lean closer. One raises a hand or a hook. You snap the compact shut. Too late. The figures linger in your periphery, now amorphous as smoke, persistent as lice. Zappalia's breath smells of poppy seed cake and arsenic. They adored mirrors at Vicegrad Palace, hung them opposite every tapestry. Her sleeve brushes your wrist. The fabric hums like a beehive. The dead make such ardent voyeurs. Historians still argue whether King Matthias had mirrors installed to catch assassins or to admire his calves. The widow's reflection winks at you, though her actual face remains still. Creepy parlor tricks run in the family. Her ancestor allegedly bottled moonlight to treat gout. A shiver crawls your neck. The faceless ones are mouthing words, their jaws unhinged too wide, like serpents swallowing eggs. Zappalia traces a crack in the compact. Glass remembers. When they executed my husband, his final breath fogged 3 mirrors in Prague. You resist pointing out that's physically impossible. Grief bends physics. The compact warms in your palm. One shadow person mimics your blinking. Another picks its nose, comforting in a grotesque way. Zappalia produces a handkerchief embroidered with inverted crosses. Polish your lies before bedtime. They'll linger in the glass. A draft slams the nearest shutter. The mirror cracks diagonally. Laughter tinkles from its shards, high-pitched and jagged. Your pulse kicks. Time to exit stage left, preferably through a door that doesn't wink. The widow blocks your path, her pearl necklace, now a choker of teeth. Asturian miners, she whispers, swallow mirrors to see their own skeletons. The nearest shadow person licks the air, if it had a tongue. You toss the compact onto a settle. It lands with the clink of a coffin nail. Too late, their whispers cling like cobwebs. You check a hallway sconce. 50 tiny yous nod back. One scratches its chin. Another mouths Camarno. The stable boy's salt still grits between your teeth. The widow's spectral entourage licks their lips, hungry for sodium or secrets. Zappalia's laughter follows you into the portrait gallery. They adore a loyal audience. Hung kings leer from their frames. You spit onto a Titian replica. The saliva pools into a trembling lens. 19 silhouettes wave. You consider trading your quill for a sledgehammer. The scholar's furnace glows like a wolf's eye in the vaulted chamber. You press against a limestone column, its chill seeping through your sleeve. He feeds vellum pages to the flames with the solemnity of a priest administering last rites. Charlatans, he spits. The fire hisses back in agreement. Medieval scribes once used iron gall ink, rusty nails, steeped in oak galls and urine. The burning scrolls release that familiar tang, with undertones of rancid honey. A illuminated psalter curls into black lace. David's harp strings snap with crystalline pings. The scholar coughs. Gray ash clings to his lips like morbid lipstick. They found Byche's treatise on serpent speech in the privy shaft, he says, tossing in a folio. Flames engulf a woodcut of St. George. The dragon's inked scales bubble into something fleshy. You edge closer. Heat pricks your cheeks. Or is it the gazes of a dozen singed saints? Historians still argue whether the 1526 manuscript purge aimed to erase heresy or hide royal bloodlines. The scholar wipes soot-stained fingers on his robe, each smear a Rorschach of censored truths. Scribes once ate pages to absorb wisdom. Fools, knowledge festers. He gestures to his swollen belly. The joke lands like a lead communion wafer. A scorched page brushes your ankle. You snatch it, Gothic script blistering under your touch. The true crown lies where the raven drowns. The scholar stamps on the fragment. Lullabies for traitors. His boot grinds Latin into charcoal confetti. 3 apprentices haul in a chest, its iron bands screeching protest. Inside, codices wrapped in sheepskin. The youngest acolyte hesitates. Master Istvan. This one's stamped with the Arped crest. The scholar slits the binding with a rusted dagger. Even dragons cough up bones, he says. Flames surge cyan. Someone definitely mixed sulfur into the kindling. Smoke coils into a bestiary above the hearth. A 2-headed eagle, a stag with clockwork antlers. The scholar watches them dissipate. Bohemian alchemists swore burning books released their souls. Listen, beneath the crackle warbled vowels, consonants like twigs underfoot. A woman's plea in Old Hungarian, a child's giggle. The scholar throws salt into the fire. The voices curdle. Hear what mercy sounds like. His smirk lacks conviction, as if doubting his own ears. You pocket a half-charped margin scrap. The ink sears your fingertips. 17th century paprika traders used similar burns to test spice quality. The scholar collapses into a gout stool, wheezing. Tell them, I saved us. His trembling hands pluck ashes from the air, futile as catching snow in a sieve. 2 shadows loom in the doorway. Not your faceless entourage. These sport the chancellor's livery. The scholar lobs a psalter at them. It arcs like a dying swan, pages scattering midair. Guards duck, one's helmet skews sideways, revealing a crescent-shaped scar. The furnace belches smoke, a stench of burning hair and burnt almond. Your eyes water through the haze. The scholar presses a wax-sealed vial into your palm. From Corvinus's own library, he rasps. Inside, a sliver of mummified raven claw. Guards drag him up steps, their chainmail scraping the stones like a butcher's knife. He recites the Nicene Creed backward. Nice touch. The vial warms against your skin, or maybe your blood's just coursing faster. Alone with the dying fire, you poke a scorched beam. Embers collapse, exposing a mosaic fragment. Emperor Sigismund's face, mid-sneeze, classic 15th century humor. The hearth's breath whispers across your neck. Camarna wakes. Dawn's first light bleeds through arrow slits. You depart as the last smoke tendrils strangle themselves, still clutching the raven's claw. In your other hand, the parchment scrap squirms like a salted slug. You've played courier for worse. The ballroom doors creak open, your shadow stretches across warped parquet. Moth-eaten brocade cushions crackle underfoot. From the minstrel's gallery, a waltz. Not the usual courtly brannel, this melody writhes like a hooked fish. You follow scarlet smears across the floor. Bloodied ballet slippers left their mark centuries ago. 18th century Vienna condemned the waltz as indecent, too much spinning, too much hip contact. But this dancer, she's committed. The stains glisten fresh, your nose wrinkles at copper tang, masked by bergamot perfume. A figure pirouettes under the chandelier. Her tulle skirt flares, yellowed from lamp smoke. Face powder clings to hollow cheeks. 3 gashes mar her satin bodice and keep marring it. Each spin deepens the cuts. Do you know the sea sardas? Her voice rasps like rosin on strings. Historians still argue whether Hungarian nobles banned folk dances to crush peasant identity, or just hated accordions. Her slippers squelch with each glissade. You pocket the raven claw vial, still warm from the scholar's furnace. They said mercury in shoe polish would make me luminous. She leaps, tarnished crystals tremble. Luminous, yes. Also delirious, her laugh echoes from a cracked music box. 4 encores before the seizures began. You sidestep a blood droplet. It hisses against the floor, a tiny crater. 17th century plague doctors believed dancing purged bad humors. They weren't entirely wrong. The chandelier sways, its prisms casting fractured rainbows. One lands on your wrist, burning colder than December. She grabs your elbow fingers, brittle as kindling. Hum it with me. Up close, her rouge crawls with carmine beetles. The waltz accelerates, a mouse caught in a clavichord. You inhale. Hum 2 bars. The chandelier shrieks. Crystals detonate, glass shards hover midair. She releases you, twirling into the glittering storm. They applauded when my heart burst. Beetles spill from her mouth. Encore. Pale dawn bleeds through cracked windows. The dancer dissolves, her slippers collapse into ash and nail clippings. The chandelier's remnants spin slower, settling into a perfect crown of shards. You pluck a surviving crystal. It frosts your palm. Beyond the ballroom, Boots march in brisk triplets. Time to waltz elsewhere. You glance back. Bloodied footprints now trail toward the door, fresh and glistening. The raven claw pulses in your pocket. For once, you let the music fade. You round a corner, your boot crushes desiccated lavender sprigs. Medieval apothecaries prescribed sachets like these against the Black Death. Though judging by these crumbling halls, somebody skipped a dose. A stiff breeze carries childhood laughter, the kind that raises arm hairs. A girl blocks the stairwell, her lace collar stiff as a portrait subject's. She cradles a doll with beetle wing eyes that shimmer wrong. 16th century noble children prized such toys. Rich families traded entire vineyards for German clockwork dolls. This one's gaze follows you like a pendulum. Her name's Sophia, the girl lisps. The doll's porcelain fingers clench dried lavender stalks. Hold her when the bells toll 12. Her own fingers, stained berry purple, hover near your sleeve. Historians still argue whether noble girls picked fruits themselves or just posed with baskets for painters. You take the doll. Its linen body feels disturbingly dense, like a small animal taxidermied with spices. 17th century midwives used similar poppets during difficult births. This one's embroidery floss mouth twitches. The girl curtsies, her buckled shoes scrape stone. She must sleep in your bed tonight, she insists. A beetle wing falls from the doll's face. 3 hallways later, you notice lavender poking through seam allowances. The raven claw hums in your pocket, its vibration syncing with the doll's faint heartbeat. You pass a mural of Saint Margaret trouncing a dragon. Both figures lack eyes. At supper, the doll topples your goblet wine pools into a perfect S shape. A serving maid gasps. Bad luck, she mutters. They say St. Stephen's crown once left that mark on a traitor's tablecloth. Your pork roast now tastes, inexplicably, of bergamot and grave soil. Midnight's first bell jolts the doll upright. Its linen jaws snap at your wrist. Tiny teeth glint where embroidery unraveled. You fling it across the bedchamber. It lands on a velvet stool, primly arranging its skirts. All better, it chirps in the girl's voice. Dawn reveals lavender sprigs coiled around the raven claw vial, their stems threaded through the stopper. The doll perches on your trunk, stitching its mouth shut with hair plucked from your brush. Some scholars insist they're childish trifles. Others claim they bound souls to linen and straw. You tuck Sophia into your satchel. Her muffled humming syncs with the sentry's boots outside. Over breakfast, the seneschal frowns at your lavender-scented breath. Avoid the east tower today, he warns. Masons found a child's skeleton walled up there. The doll giggles against your hip bone. By noon, your palm sprouts 2 perfect rows of violet teeth marks, still singing a lullaby in E minor. The raven claw's hum grows erratic against your thigh. Its vibrations now match the axe blows echoing through flagstones. You follow the sound to a vaulted chamber where tapestries depict saints being flayed with gleeful precision. Their golden halos lie tarnished in corners, repurposed as dog bowls. The executioner paces before a stained block. His great axe shimmers colder than winter sunlight. 17th century headsmen often lived outside city walls. Society needed their service, yet recoiled from their shadow. This one's cloak stitches together crow feathers. A fringe theory claims executioners wore black-plumed garb to mimic the carrion birds they fed. The blade tilts. You spot Miklos carved near the haft in clumsy runes. They called me Lord of Mercy, he rasps. His breath reeks of sour cherries and weathered leather. 27 strikes per head, fewer than the guild average. The axe handle creaks under his grip, its wood polished smooth by a century of trembling palms. Historians still argue whether these men drank poppy syrup to steady their hands, or if their nightmares did the trembling for them. A tapestry stirs. St. Catherine's woven eyes track the axe. Her wheel lies splintered beneath the block, chewed by termites or teeth. You note blisters on Miklos' wrists, the same angry crescents marring your dull-bitten hand. He catches your stare. The blade chooses its master after 50 souls, he mutters. It's hungry for the 31st. Always the 31st. Midnight's final bell shakes dust from the rafters. Miklos presses his palm to the axe. The metal hisses like wet iron on a forge. This drank royal blood at Vicegrad, he whispers. A queen who laughed as her crown rolled. His thumb brushes the etched name. A third S added recently, still raw. You ask why a headsman carves his mark. He barks a laugh. 3 crows startle from the beams. So death knows who to thank, he snorts. A feather drifts onto the block, splits cleanly without touching the blade. Your satchel shifts. The doll's lavender stench momentarily overpowers the room's iron tang. Miklos freezes. You carry a crosser of veils, he growls. The axe trembles, its edge singing a high C sharp. Burn it before the new moon, or become its ledger keeper. His warning hangs as a tapestry falls, revealing a bricked-up alcove choked with frost. You glimpse tiny handprints in the ice, fresh enough to steam. Dawn finds you in the herb garden. Yarrow stalks snap underfoot as you stuff the doll into a compost heap. The executioner's blisters now pattern your wrist, pulsing in time with the buried raven claw. Some say guildsmen tattooed victims' initials on their skin, a macabre roster. Your flesh remains bare, but your dreams fill with unmarked graves, numbered 31. As chapel bells toll sext, a scullery maid offers you blackthorn tea. For the shaking, she murmurs. Her sleeve slips, revealing a Miklos brand between thumb and forefinger. The doll's muffled giggles seep through rotting apple cores, and the axe's song follows you into the whetstone screech of daylight. Your fingers hover over the parchment, a single drop of wax, poised to seal 13 nights of ink and ash. The cellar's chill gnaws through your livery, yet sweat beads where the doll's teeth grazed your palm. 17th century cupbearers often doubled as scribes, their wine-stained hands recording intrigues between pourings. This quill once plucked a Hungarian prince's splinter, its nib reforged from an Ottoman arrowhead. Historians still argue whether the practice stemmed from thrift or a belief that battle-forged metal wards off lies. The wax pool spreads, caramelized resin seared with beeswax and ground lapis. Its scent conjures cathedral censers and the executioner's cherry-rot breath. You press your ring into the molten blob. The Sharva's Agank's crest should emerge instead. Veined wings unfold. A locust's delicate frame hardens instantly, its thorax fused to your signet. Fringe theorists claim medieval scribes hid prophecies in wax biomorphs. But this feels less like a warning than a birth. The hall inhales, a century's worth of moth-eaten tapestries billowing toward you. Dust motes spiral into a miniature storm above the table, each fleck glinting like a snipped thread of memory. Your notes levitate, pages riffle without touch, then collapse into a neat stack bound by cobwebs. The hearth's dying ember winks out, its final smoke twisting into the exact shape of Mikló's axe. Footsteps echo from the gallery, too light for boots, too rhythmic for paws. You pocket the locust seal, its legs prick your thigh through the fabric. A passing clerk once swore Hungarian nobility buried their librarians alive to protect vault locations. Yet the approaching click-clack suggests stilettos, not shovels. The doll's lavender stench resurges, cloying sweet, as if the compost heap rejected its rot. Moonlight slices through a high window. Your shadow stretches toward the archway, then keeps stretching. It peels from the flagstones like soaked parchment, crawling up the wall to merge with deeper darkness. Cold settles in your molars, the same invasive chill as touching the wax glyphs in Section 4. Some say castles breathe through their stones. You're fairly certain this one just swallowed. The doll's laughter erupts muffled from your satchel, 3 hiccuping giggles that steam in the sudden cold. Your breath frosts the air, yet the raccoon fat candle burns steady. That's new. The flame elongates into a needle-thin spire, its tip etching Magyar runes across the ceiling. You recognize Isaki Kapo Megderv, Harmon Charmadic. 3rd cellar door, 33rd step, the final tally from your dream graves. Candle wax pools around the locust seal, forming a sticky prison for your sleeve. Each tug sends needle pains through your wrist. The Mikló's brand blisters, throbbing in protest. A maid's smock lies discarded by the spice cupboard, sleeve still rolled to expose that telltale brand. 17th century servants often marked household items, not kin. Fingernail scratches on the cupboard door repeat your initials, carved by someone left-handed. You're right-handed. The locust's wings twitch, a dry rustle like uncured parchment. Its legs puncture the fabric, drawing pinpricks of blood that bead black in the candlelight. Your vision blurs the hall's edges, softening into a watercolor smear. The St. Laszlo tapestry ripples, Its battle stallion now bears the doll's embroidered face. The floor tilts, one flagstone transforms into a grindstone, spinning with the axe's metallic screech. You collapse into the velvet chair, its arms sprouting thorns that snag your livery. The ceiling runes drip molten gold, pooling around your boots without heat. 3 crows alight on the windowsill, each missing a left eye. Their synchronized caw harmonizes with the doll's humming, a lullaby about a cupbearer who drank the moon's marrow. Your notes rustle despite the dead air, their pages now blank, except for 31 inky handprints. Daybreak arrives as a thief gray light, slinking through arrow slits to pilfer the candle's glow. The locust seal lies dormant, wings fused back into a proper coat of arms. Your satchel bulges with something squashy and warm, best not to check. As you exit, the hall exhales its breath, carrying the taste of burned lavender and unshed tears. The secrets nestle between your ribs, tiny claws prickling with every step toward the 31st dawn. Your palm rests on cooled wax, the locust's wings smoothed into noble heraldry once more. Dawn bleaches the hall's shadows to gauze, each step toward the archway lighter than the last. The doll's laughter fades, a distant hum swallowed by sunlight pooling on the threshold. Cobwebs dissolve like sugar in tea, their bindings loosening as the castle releases its grip. Your satchel sags, warm but harmless. Whatever stirs inside now still as a hibernating hare. Those inky handprints on your notes, faint smudges now, dreams rinsed clean by the 31st morning. Breathe deep. Lavender clings to your collar, not the compost stench, but the herb's true scent, dried petals tucked into linen. The grindstone's screech dims to a lark's whistle, the axe's ghost rusting in some forgotten corner. Lean into the ache behind your ribs, those tiny claws now cradle, not prick. Let your breath mingle with the hall's last sigh, soft, centuries-old secrets dissolving into morning light. Sleep walks beside you, its footsteps matching yours, patient, unhurried. The raccoon fat candle winks out, a wisp of smoke curls into nothing. Close your eyes when ready. Dawn keeps its promises.